Carrie, I have a question. What the fuck is a pound of cake, or is this a pound cake? This is important. This is an important distinction, okay? This is an important distinction. I need to know. A pound of Jesus
A
Christ.
pound
Of
of
what kind
cake.
of cake, Carrie? Also, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the party. I already stole the wife because we're going to be devouring propaganda all day today. It's not
Hello,
actually
I've been
propaganda.
kidnapped consensually. It's really well. Everything could be argued to be propaganda
Everything
if you
could
wanted
technically
to,
be argued to be propaganda.
just if you wanted to split enough hairs. But
I mean, it's like, oh, look, people are happy in another country. No, you shouldn't engage in that. That's propaganda. Is it? Is it? Is things being better somewhere else in and of itself propaganda? But welcome. Holy shit. Hold on. How many fucking stream streaks is that? 7 from Faye, 130 from Owning, and Low with
45?
45? Jesus. I didn't realize you were already that
Damn.
high, Low. That was not intentional.
hello,
We're
I
not
love
saving
that.
you, water hoarder.
Gannon, I'm gonna politely ask you to please drop this bit. I don't like it. Please, no more. Thank you.
Well, there's your answer. The Tumblr lock is to prevent his activities. Tumblr lock? The only one in the family who
Tumblr
knows how to
lock?
pick a Tumblr lock? Oh.
Um,
Oh. Nobody wants you jerking it in the cake. I get it. Okay.
ew.
Also, why did you get a pound of cake? How big is this cake for you to be able to take a pound and it's barely noticeable? The hardtack just fucking popped up in front of you. Tosca. Hi, Tosca. Oh my god, there was things I wanted to talk about besides just Zhao Hongshu today, and now I can't remember what it was because Ganon shaved my head and all my memories are saved in there.
Oh no!
That is not actually true. But I have
Well,
actually just
depending on
forgotten.
spiritual belief.
Oh, David, I forgot the thing I was going to talk about. No hair. It's a tenth of the cake. You have a 10-pound cake. Also, hi, Dave. Thank you for the. I almost said follow. Thank you for the lurk. Bald jump scare. Hi, Fabled.
Bulge. No longer bulge.
By the power of the ancient creature and my knife, I summon. God damn it!
Oh no.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
I can't believe I'm being bullied over here. Fuck it. I'm gonna tie my hair back then. Yeah.
Nano machines.
Nano machine soon.
My source says I made it the fuck up.
But I ate the propaganda pill last night, chat. But when I got into bed last night, I was like, I'm going to see if I can actually sign up for the Red Note because it wasn't working earlier in the day. It wasn't like sending like the confirmation codes to make an account.
You got it to work though.
Yeah, I got it to work this time. It just sent it like instantly. I was like, maybe there was like a traffic problem or something.
That a lot of people are thinking it's an overload of traffic because Americans are going to the app en masse.
Yeah, but it's actually a really fun app. We're actually going to look at it later because it has a browser version too that we can look at. I fucking love it because it feels like TikTok before the TikTok shop was a thing. Like, it's so much like wholesome stuff, gardening stuff, anything from like modern cooking to even traditional cooking, as well as fashion and designs. It's so much fun.
She's been DMing me videos from there all day, chat.
I've only
There's
sent you
so
two
many.
from this morning.
That's so many. Two?
I sent
That's
you
more
two, and one of them
that's-
was hilarious.
One of them is very hilarious, but two, like, that's like a lot. That's so many.
As opposed to me climbing into bed at the end of the day, and you've sent me 6 to 8 TikToks.
No.
No? That didn't happen?
No.
That doesn't happen?
No.
Okay. I'm sure that's never happened, and I have no basis to plant that on.
I'm sorry. I love you and want to share the things I like.
That's what I'm doing with this one. Make an account so I can send it to you in the app.
Okay, I will do that today. I
Yay.
told you I would.
Cake is in the Discord? Okay. Is this a picture of the whole cake? If I go to this and it's a picture of Carrie's ass, I'm fucking... Carrie's losing a sword. Oh, it's sheet cake.
That's a thick sheet cake.
That is a really thick sheet cake.
I've never seen a sheet cake that thick before.
It looks almost dense under the icing. It's definitely like buttercream icing.
Yeah, that's like buttercream. Maybe it's a pound of pound cake? Pound cake's pretty dense.
Oh my god, I love pound cake, especially with like jellied strawberries.
Ooh.
That's what my grandma used to make. Whenever we'd come visit, she would make a pound cake from scratch and then take some strawberries and turn them into like compote that we'd put on top. It was so good. So
Oh,
good.
that sounds delicious.
Who pounded the cake? I can't believe Nana the Go Round pounded this cake. That was my pre-mod days. In Discord before, you've seen it? I don't think I have, and if I did, I deleted the memory. Thank God. Because now I can't think of any situation where you've posted your ass. Because if you did, I would hit you so hard with a baseball bat right now. You're telling me someone.
One.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sad because now I can't remember a bunch of like the other news stuff that I want to talk about. Elon losing his shit and apparently going to be trying to buy TikTok.
That's a rumor as far as I understand
I figured it was a
but
rumor. I was like, there's no way that's happening. I don't think they understand that if Elon bought TikTok, how barren and or a racist hole that TikTok would become.
it would be called X Talk and nobody would want it anymore.
Xvids. No,
He-
wait, that's
oh,
a prawn
n-
site.
Yeah.
He'll buy it and name it. Why? I would fucking shoot someone if that happens.
No. Elon's too attached to the letter X for some reason. He just thinks it's really cool. Nobody fucking understands why. And nobody wants to associate with him because of it, specifically advertisers, because putting X on anything makes it sound like an adult site.
Yep. Also, the thing with like Murdoch said, yeah, is I figured it was a rumor or a goof thing. But the thing is, a lot of those things can drum up interest because Elon has so many like fanboys and shit that like him. If they believe that that is real, they may start flocking to the site as well as like pitching their support for it, which can look good to some
Ew.
companies, which under no circumstance do I think TikTok will sell it. But it worked in the past with Twitter.
The issue with what happened and the reason why all of a sudden everybody is so like head up on the fact that it's going to be banned is what the lawyer for TikTok said, which is if nothing happens, then yeah, they'll have to shut down. So everybody just assumed, yes, that means banned, but they're not discussing TikTok again, I think, until tomorrow.
I think I heard somebody say that they already delayed the shutdown like another 270
Yeah.
days.
I haven't heard that, but like they
There it
were
is, the
supposed
bill to extend
yeah.
the sale time by 270 days, which is so fucking funny because that means the government legitimately thinks that they are such a big deal, that America is such a big deal and a huge market as opposed to a global market, that they would sell their fucking American wing to a US company.
It doesn't really make sense. Like, I don't know. I'm just proud of the TikTok lawyer for being like, if you're so concerned about American security, why is Temu and Shein allowed to operate inside of your country?
Exactly. 20
So-
squats. Also, hold on, while I do these squats, we need to tell them the thing that Tommy fucking did earlier. Mostly Tommy, but a whole bunch of other people. Ember and a bunch of other people donated. Kona was going to actually fund my legal name change, and it was going to go until it was funded, which apparently is less than 2 hours because Tommy's a fucking shitlord. Anyway, I got to do 20 squats.
Do 20 squats. Let's go. Shall I squat with you?
You can if you want. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5, 6,
5.
7,
Mhm.
8,
Eight.
9, 10, 11,
11,
12,
12,
13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
17.
18, 19, 20. All right.
Excellent.
But yeah, no, that was the fastest thing I've ever had on Throne. Hold on, I'm like folding up the blanket I used back when it was freezing real quick. It's
Yeah.
been draped on
Did
the
it
back of
warm
my
up
chair.
finally?
Yeah, it warmed up a couple days ago. I've just
Oh,
had it
good.
draped over the back of my chair since, just in case I was cold again. Just could drape it over me. Alright, bye bye, kitten blanket. But hold on, somehow got on my phone despite me having Twitter notifications hidden. Gross. Because prawn and nosy people don't mix. Ugh, don't they? The Nitro got there in 20 minutes that one time. No, that was. I guess that's technically true. That's technically correct. But that was also like the rebuy one because we thought the one that I had was bad, and it wasn't. Those gummies are just hard as a rock, so that you have to chew them.
Oh my.
But yeah, I put that on Throne last night, and it got funded into 2-hour Kono stream. Jesus. Oh my god, that fucking I'm gonna suck you dry, little man.
Oh no.
That's the way I feel like
Oh,
that has to be
no.
read. That's the way I feel like it has to be read.
Yeah, exactly. Get love, nerd.
Yeah, now
that
I have
name
now
change.
I have so much. Kono's gonna do a lot of like the hard stuff, and now I'm gonna have to drive all over the place. And I think like I have to get like a fingerprint card, which I thought I had. Turns out I think all I got was a background check, so I didn't get like a physical fingerprint card.
Mm.
So I'll have to go back to the nearest FBI office, which I think is like an hour and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually I could probably do that next week because I'm going up there because I owe my grandma a Christmas present because she's very hard to shop for. So I was like, I'll come spend time with you in January once I get paid and we can go have like a nice dinner and stuff.
Hmm.
So I'll probably be taking like a Saturday or something off to go do a bunch of those. And to the FBI offices? Yes, to the FBI offices.
FBI, open up!
And then that reminds me, I probably should, just so I don't forget, I probably should fucking do the withdrawal balance on Throne.
Hmm.
Because that shit takes forever and a half. Because it's annoying. Okay. Bound open what? Open you what? Open you what? Open up. Ah.
Wouldn't it just be shadows in there?
It technically would, which is you'll see that in 2.0 a little bit. You'll see some fun stuff in 2.0 that's different. Self-care. Yeah.
Chat, did you know that speaking of 2.0, chat, did you know that if you tier 2 or tier 3 sub to Marin Go Round, you get access to a special preview channel in the Discord server?
Do with that information what you will. Oh my god, Exoprimal. I miss Exoprimal. Exoprimal was such an interesting game, but like fell off so fast because it felt like a fucking like a Capcom arcade game.
I couldn't remember which one that was.
Exoprimal's the one where you play as like a bunch of robotic suit people fighting dinosaurs.
Oh,
Like literally
okay.
dinosaurs.
Oh.
There we go. That's not what you said when you played it. Wait, what? What do you mean? I enjoyed Exoprimal. Or am I heavily affected by rose-colored goggles right now?
There's only one way to find out, and that's opening the game back up and playing it again.
I'd have to download it. Hi, Rin. Chat, did you know that 99% of gamblers quit just before hitting it big? Did you know if you donate $5, you have a chance of giving you unending gratification?
It's true. Watch, I'll donate $5 right now.
I know! Long after that quote, it probably wasn't one of the serious ones. It was probably like something happened. I was like, I hate this game.
This stupid game.
It was like,
But when I'm
probably
winning,
one of
I love
those.
this game.
The game's neat and it's interesting and it's fun to play, especially because like as you continue to level up, it felt like you would get more and more moments in it. There's a clip somewhere of like us getting into like a higher level game.
Mm-hmm.
they basically there's like we get to like a higher level game and there's like one of those big black holes in the sky and it forces our camera to look at it and you just hear I'm trying to think it's like pterosaur invasion imminent and they just come pouring out of the sphere in the sky and we're just like oh no. Fuck
Not the dinosaur sphere.
because it was the first one we came to that kind and we're like oh what. Hold on, I want to see if I can find that.
Insane.
I'm pretty sure I was playing with Scotty at the time. Let me... Content, clips, Exo, Primal. Oh, wow. Wait, y'all did a lot of clips at Exo Primal.
Many much clips.
Many
Such instances.
There it is. Summoning Pteranodon Swarm.
Oh.
Okay, let me... I'm gonna full screen this. Oh, wait, can I?
Can you?
Can I get it in a... Okay. I don't have to full screen. I can just get it in a bigger player.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. And then we'll go right on over here.
Over here.
Over here.
Over here.
And then I can go ahead and cease the music for a minute.
Silence.
And then we can go down memory lane for a second.
God damn it, Ricky, we're walking down the
Lane.
stairs.
Oh, hold on. I forgot a thing. I forgot the most important thing.
I'm blind.
Yes, my wife can't see.
I can't see.
I am blind. I cannot see. Please help.
I cannot see. I am legally blind. Okay.
God damn it, Ricky, we walk down the stairs.
Preparing combat area. Oh no. Oh no. And it just pulls this up. We're like, wait, what's it looking at? What's it looking at? We back up. Oh!
Oh my god.
We're blocking up there.
Holy shit. Alright, that's actually kind of cool.
Are you guys ready?
Wait, what is it gonna summon?
Ooh, why did it expand?
Summoning a Pteranodon swarm.
Oh, summoning Pteranodon swarm.
Oh my god!
Oh yes! Oh no!
Yeah, when they call it a swarm, they fucking mean it. You can just the bitrate just goes out the window.
Goodbye, frames.
The frames are there. It's still getting the 30, 60 FPS, but the bitrate just crunches it to hell.
Bye, bits.
Oh my god. Because I remember that
the
moment being like, it's
screaming.
time to test the combat environment. You've performed well up till now. Summoning Pteranodon Swarm. What?
You've performed well. Now go fuck yourself.
I have a couple videos already saved. I have like seafood, street food. I have octagon houses because I thought it was cool and it showed up in my feed.
Octagon House.
And then I have the entirety of Red Book.
Amazing. I already see things I like, and most of it's food.
I was just saying, most of it's food, and then there's this lady. Listen, there's
Very good day.
Whenever you make this account, there's going to be two kinds of fitness on this account, okay? There's food fitness, and then there's this fitness. And you have to make sure you pick the right one, because the entire determinant is what the picture next to the word fitness is.
Yes. Fitness food in my mouth. That's what I'm going to be doing.
I'm looking at this pizza.
Jesus, that's a deep dish.
The deepest of dish, baby. Deepest of dish. Sega just made a new trademark for Echo the Dolphin. A new Echo game. Echo the Dolphin. That's an...
Echo the Dolphin? Isn't that the one with the prosthetic fin?
No, that was...
Or am I thinking of a different
movie.
dolphin?
That was a movie.
Oh.
It's an old Sega CD game. Where you play as a 2D dolphin.
But dolphins are evil. Yes, I know I'm thinking of a movie, Carrie.
Yeah, that was
I have 9 brains, and they're all full of information, and wires get crossed sometimes.
They're all full of different information.
They really are.
It goes like Tony Hawk, but for dolphins in 2D. Oh.
Ah, I see.
Hmm. There's also so many videos American citizens giving their data to an actual Chinese company, looking at RedNote being the second and or first fucking app on the market.
Harry, that's not very nice. Please stop attacking my intelligence, you guys. Come on now.
Carrie, there's there are better jokes around than just calling us stinky and stupid. Come on. You can't
There
have the same
really-
joke for 6 days in a row. It's time to move
There
on after
really
day 2.
are. It's something
Gannon.
that I won't step up on this soapbox, but just Gannon,
Gannon, a bit
Propaganda
isn't
machine?
funny if everybody isn't appreciating it, because then it's just bullying.
Mm-hmm.
You can bark at me all you want, little man. The clip section of the content creator didn't show almost half of the clips by default because Twitch set the other filter as default. Strange Twitch activity. Twitch activity does not make any sense.
Now they're all barking.
Tommy's just barking because Tommy wants to bark.
Bark, 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 bark. It's the only time you'll get it for free.
Oh God, that's one of the things that I don't understand that people like is on the internet, for whatever reason, people like it when men bark and or whimper. And all I get when a man whimpers is I want to leave the room.
It falls under the same brain reasoning as to why women like gay porn over straight activities. I just remembered where I was. I have to be mindful of my language usage. It's why women like same-sex things as opposed to different sex things, because it's just expressing. And women like it when men do the thing, because it shows enthusiasm, whereas in normal dynamics, well, I shouldn't say normal, the usual
in their
dynamics.
In
In
the
their
dynamics that they
dynamics.
have or currently experience.
No, you know what we're going to call it this. In commonplace male-female dynamics, the male does not usually reciprocate vocally.
Okay.
Because it's seen as emasculating.
Yeah.
It's not. But that's why a lot of ladies and femme-presenting people tend to enjoy it. A lot of people tend to enjoy that sort of thing because it's auditory appeal. It shows enthusiasm. It shows...
I think that makes sense in the act.
Like an
It's just
enjoyment.
doing it spontaneously to my brain is like, this is not the right place nor the right time. I'm thinking about food, sir. What the fuck are you thinking about?
Yeah. No, it's one of those, it requires the proper context, but that's why you have to be aware of the space that you're in. Because in certain environments and certain chats and certain streams or whatever, that thing is like perfectly acceptable. But if like you said, if we're talking about food, like time and place.
This is Food Wars,
know?
Marin. He's experiencing food. Oh, okay. Never mind. That makes sense. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that makes sense. I bark for pizza. I beg for pizza. I don't bark.
Noted.
Hey, give me the pizza. Just holding it over me. Yeah.
I need art of like you just kind of like grabbing at my skirt while I hold a big pizza
Just
over your
like
head.
the chibi version. Hi, White. How are you doing?
Just like grabby.
Would beg for school lunchroom cheese sticks. Okay, the one thing I would beg for right now to have like a bucket of from like what I used to eat in like primary school is weird to me, but it's the spaghetti. For whatever
makes
reason,
sense.
the spaghetti was fucking fire. What's your go-to pizza? Pineapple,
I'll
bacon,
only-
spinach.
I will only answer if I am not judged.
You won't be judged. I just have pineapple on mine.
I always go for barbecue chicken pizza.
Never mind, you will be
specifically the bar-
judged. No, I'm kidding.
the-
It's 99% of the time my issue with barbecue chicken pizza though is that it just tastes like the barbecue sauce.
But I make it myself, and I chop up all my own vegetables, and I make sure
it's
that
probably far better than like any place that you order it from. I was just talking in like a general sense.
I play up on the sweet and like savory flavors because I really like a good like sweet and savory combination. And that's what I try to do because I doctor the barbecue sauce myself. Like I'll buy a cheap barbecue sauce to use as a base, and then I'll add things to it.
Okay, that makes sense. Also, judgment-free zone. The carnival throws the judges in the pit. That is correct.
Yay! Into the pit.
There is centralized justice here in the carnival, and I am that justice. Somebody
And
slap a
here's-
Judge Dredd helmet on me. Justice.
Oh my god, justice!
We do Mexican chicken pizza in my work, but we sell square pizza. I'm fine with square pizza.
The
Is it-
holy square pizza.
Hold on, is it square pizza or is it like Sicilian pizza?
Mm.
Because Sicilian pizza is usually served in squares, but it's also very different from like a regular thinner crust pizza that's cut into square. For Gotham!
For Gotham.
I was more thinking Judge Dredd over Batman, but it also works. It also works.
That one audio. Hey man, I think he's had enough. You want some of what he's having?
No, good.
Good. Justice for Gotham.
I need to go back to the Batcave. Batman needs his supplies.
Batman needs his bat pizza.
Oh my god, what does Bat Pizza have on it? Oh god, wait, didn't Little Caesars have a Bat Pizza at one point?
I'm pretty sure it was a bat-shaped pizza.
That's
you were
exactly-
also Googling. I love how we both opened a new tab at the same time.
There it is.
Yeah, the bat
God, it's
pizza.
heinous. Hold
It's
on.
so scrungly looking. I love it.
That's the thing. Like, whenever they do these special, also this pizza is like so disappointing. I remember seeing it in person once because somebody I was at a an LGS with in college ordered this pizza, and it's so small. This is like it's about the size of a medium pizza, and it's like folded over. It's a fucking maxi pad. Shut up. Where's the crust?
No.
The thing with Little Caesars pizza is more often than not the cheese goes right up to the edge of the pan that they cook it
Yeah.
in. This is basically just a medium pizza that's been cut and then parts of it have been folded over. And then it's baked. The Batman calzone, my ass. Hold on, what was it called? The calzone? No, it's
The
Polygon.
Batzoni.
Oh, it was called the Batman calzone. Interesting.
You could have called it a bat zone, and you.
Oh god, the special edition, the Batman. The Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. It's my bat pizza and my bat zone.
Hold on, I want to see. I want to see what other, because they've made tons of specialty pizzas. I wanted to see if it would come up with any others, but it looks like it's just Batman. Oh god. Oh,
What?
that's the original calzone.
That's weird.
But oh, here's the pretzel one. Who remembers
pretzel
Little Caesar's
crust?
pretzel pizza? Instead of using tomato sauce, they used like nacho cheese.
Sounds.
I just don't like nacho
Atrocious.
cheese, so I never bothered trying it.
I'm just.
Eh.
Yeah. Whenever I eat a pretzel thing, I'm almost always eating cinnamon sugar pretzel things. I've never really been for savory pretzels.
That makes sense.
A Brazilian pizza?
I'm pretty sure we had like a conversation on that for a while, Ren. Like you've sent me some, but I remember Googling it at the time we were chatting about it. And hold on, we'll go back to the fucking screen again. There was always like I just put in Brazilian pizza. Like here's one with fucking deviled eggs on it. Whole
Eggs?
half olives and sausage. And then there's like this dessert one down here. I remember at one point when I Googled this, there was like, there's these pizzas that are like,
What is that in the scent? What?
that's a whole chicken with French fries. Oh, whoops.
Why is there a whole chicken?
That I think is the bottle of wine on like a brownie in the center. Those are tame. Yeah, these are the ones that I remember. Like here's the fucking chef in the middle of his pizza.
What? Okay.
Here's the banana one.
What? Is that like chocolate underneath the banana?
I think so. I asked for a boneless pizza.
Boneless.
This doesn't
Can
look
I
like
get
a boneless pizza to me.
Can I get a nun pizza with left beef, please?
No, I'm sorry. I brought you a non-pizza instead.
Well, that's fine. Naan is delicious.
I fucking love naan. Can you imagine making a wait? I have a recipe saved somewhere of naan, but it's stuffed with cheese.
Oh, that sounds incredible. You can get naan here, like really easily. They sell it in the grocery stores, like the regular ones. You don't even have to go to a
Hell
specialty
yeah!
store.
I took a shower. Legs are cold. Can I step into the fire pit to warm up? Step into? Tire pizza? Wait. Was the tire pizza? Oh, there it is.
Tire?
Tire pizza.
Why? Why? Why is there a tire?
I don't understand this weird fascination with like a chocolatey looking thing in the center either, because it's in.
I guess because like as you eat it, you get to the dessert.
I guess this one just has a case of beer in the middle of it.
I mean, okay, but that makes a little bit more sense, like beer and pizza.
Oh, here's a closer one. I don't understand chocolate. Hi, Jane. Cheese bread? No, unfortunately, it is not cheese bread. It is worse. Just so much worse.
Was the tire at least edible? Is it an
No,
or is it just
that is
straight up a
That
tire?
is definitely an actual tire.
I hate everything about that.
That is a whole ass tire, and I'm pretty sure they've covered the logo that was on the center of the wheel well.
Huh.
I don't know, but I miss making pizza at home sometimes. I need to get back to doing that. It's just that the grocery store I went to before I moved back south was super easy to get pizza ingredients because they had pre-packaged like dough from a local restaurant in a refrigerated section that you could just take home, pound the shit out of, and make pizza with it. And it was super easy.
Nice.
Cosmic brownie with a whole chimkin on it. Wait, I missed it. Where was the chicken one again?
Brownie with a what?
No, I don't think the chicken is like on top of a brownie thing. I think it's actually just balanced. Also, what the fuck is this? What in the Pizza Hut shit is this?
What are those round things around the edge? What are those? Like garlic knot? What is that?
I'm looking at them like, are scotched eggs?
That was gonna be my next question. Is it an egg of some kind? Well, there's a difference, Jane, between dessert pizza and putting dessert in the middle of a pizza.
Like, these are all dessert pizzas. The resolution does not get better. Like, these are obviously all dessert pizzas.
Yeah.
Bananas, chocolate one, strawberry, sprinkles, and then I think that's powdered sugar or coconuts.
When my grandmother was still alive, we went to some manner of pizza buffet, and they had, like, a delicious dessert pizza that I have yet to be able to recreate.
A caramel mushroom pizza?
A what?
Carrie!
What are these things? And did you know you can take any word and arrange it in any order to make a sentence?
Did you know that actions have consequences, Carrie? Did you know the words that come out of your mouth mean things?
Oh, wait. Hold your fire.
Caramelized mushrooms. Okay, that actually sounds really good.
That's different.
That sounds good. But it's also like, I think my favorite thing, I've mentioned this before, whenever I get mushrooms, the things that makes mushrooms more enjoyable for pizza on me is when they're, instead of being just like chopped long ways, or so you get like the stereotypical like mushroom shape that people expect on pizza, is that like mine minced and spread evenly over the pizza?
I do. I also prefer it that way. I might
God.
be Zyber. I can't remember.
Speaking of mushroom pizza next to my dessert
Oh
pizza.
no! Too much. I never thought I'd say this, but that's too much chocolate sauce.
The egg pizza that looks moldy, this one?
Egg. Those are like the bits on top.
Yeah, this is just a close-up version of the same pizza.
Yeah, bits.
Not all my ideas are bad, miss. I'm gonna hate this chalky burger and then ate the whole damn thing and audibly quarried about another. Quarried? No, I didn't. I didn't think about making another one. But I did. That's a chicken.
That's just a chicken. That's just a rooster on a pizza. Oh no.
I would not be able to eat that pizza because I've raised chickens. That pizza is completely tainted.
Chickens are also...
Ain't nobody in their life should eat that pizza.
No.
This
Melodia, I almost said melody. Melodia, welcome in. How was your incoming Princess Cat raid? Prepare your snacks. I don't have
It's a
any
good
snacks.
thing we're looking at pizzas then.
True, we're looking at Brazilian pizza. Would you like a chicken pizza? It's fucking raw.
It's so raw, you can still hear it crowing.
The moldy egg pizza was a little higher up. Was the one that was like
Moldy
the, oh my god, olives and onions. But welcome in, Raiders. I hope you had a good stream. How was Valorant? Did you have a good time?
This looks like something. Oh no! It does look moldy.
It looks moldy, but that's actually the cheese that they put on top. It's just not very good cheese. And it's only kind of sort of, I think that's a DiGiorno. It looks like the crust of a DiGiorno,
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
but it says it's a Brazilian pizza place in Milwaukee. A tier list and moved to Valorant. It was great. Ooh. I hope you had fun. If you need to do any of the post-stream stuff, hit the bathroom, get some food, do all that jazz. I totally understand. Thank you so much for the raid. I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't eat it either. I don't like deviled eggs to start with. Corn on pizza. Yes.
You don't like deviled egg?
Melania, thank you for the follow. No, I'm not a big fan of deviled eggs. Like, there's other ways to enjoy eggs. I'm just,
Will you at least try my version of a deviled egg?
I will try it.
Yay! She will at least try it. I'll take it. You don't have to like it. But if you try it, I'll be happy.
Onions.
Onions.
Okay, that's enough staring at the Brazilian pizza. That's enough staring at the Brazilian pizza.
How about angeled eggs?
What are angeled eggs?
How do you even angel an egg? I only know how to devil an egg. I got Psy addicted to
Don't like
deviled
deviled
eggs.
eggs. You're allowed to be wrong. Listen, I'm not saying they're bad as in they're disgusting. I just don't like them. There's like the
They're
mix
not-
of like the smell and the general taste that I'm just like, no, this ain't for me.
They're not for everybody.
Stop having bad opinions.
Some people can make them like very astringent too, and like really vinegary, depending on how they choose to do it.
Stop having bad opinions. Come on. Also, the alert for the Epic Games also just reminded me. Since Miku's out, if any of y'all are going to buy the new Miku skin, hashtag code Marin go around. Help support
Use
the carnival.
Marin's codes, support the carnival, get cool stuff.
Angeled eggs are the same as deviled eggs. That's gonna be the reason the name exists is because some Christian people in the US didn't like having devil. Oh, that makes sense. It's
That
just-
is stupid. That's
I mean,
dumb.
that sounds like something that they did in like the 50s, back when they were also fucking forcibly rewriting the national anthem. When I play and buy skins in Fortnite, no joke. Let's go.
Let's go.
I just told my buddy about your code. Let's go.
Excellent. More carnival support.
I mean, you are pretty close to correct, Jeanette. You're very close to correct. It's the word. It's even worse when you get the mix of like American exceptionalism and Christian exceptionalism, which is always like a horrifying combination because it's like, how can you be so full of yourself but so wrong at the same time?
Zealotry is one hell of a drug.
It's the superiority complex developed over decades.
Mm-hmm.
Ruining things is a circle. It pretty much is.
It is very
Which is also why we're going to be eating the propaganda machine today.
Yay, propaganda!
Yay, Chinese propaganda. It's
I'm
not
gonna
real
take a propaganda in it.
Go take a propaganda. Gonna have to take a
Propaganda.
propaganda at this website over here. Eat this pantsgram. Is that a promise?
If you're offering.
What are you doing on Valentine's Day? What day of the week is Valentine's Day?
Let's see, I have my calendar right here. It is
Friday.
a Friday.
I don't think I'm doing anything yet.
Melwin, will you be my Valentine?
I will be your Valentine. Oh, well, you'll be size Valentine.
Yay!
Yay, that sounded like it had a question mark in it.
No, my voice pitched upwards weirdly. I'm sorry.
Cheating? What do you mean cheating? Do a pizza making stream, make a heart pizza?
You
I don't have the setup to make to do like a cooking stream.
You know other women? You knew women before me? I'm offended.
We just really hit him with it. There are girls in your eyesight? Not on my watch.
What do you want eyes for? To look at other girls? Fellas, is it gay to breathe?
Fellas! Is it gay
Is it gay
to love a
have-
woman? I mean, she likes dudes.
Oh no, my high school experience.
Fellas,
Oh
is it gay to like women because they kiss men?
no. Again? I mean, they're kissing a man and then you're kissing them. That's pretty gay.
Fellas, is it gay to
Fellas.
exist? I mean, you are in the exact same space as other men.
Fellas, is it gay to have eyes? I mean, what are you trying to see? Other dudes?
Oh, my brain is I was over here. It's like, how can I loop the laws of physics into this? Fellas, is it gay to be affected by gravity? I mean, gravity is holding down all those other dudes' dicks. You can't suck a homie off goodnight. Are you really straight? Like, just don't let it bother you if you're not gay.
Yo, just keep your socks on. It's not
It's
gay
strictly
if you keep your
business.
socks on. Yeah. And then if you say no homo afterwards, it doesn't count.
Why do you have two arms to touch other women?
Women?
Not if I have anything to say about it. What do you mean?
What do you need your legs for? To go walk to other girls' houses? Is that it?
Fellas, is it gay to be a nugget? I mean, you'll have to rely on another man to carry you around.
God, no.
I was about to say, we started talking limbs, and I'm just imagining like a soon-to-your ass girlfriend like cutting limbs off.
Mm-hmm. Fella.
Fellas! Ever seen the girl in the shower with 5 other guys? I have. What? 5? How big was the shower?
That's a big shower. I want a shower I can fit 6 people inside of. What?
I mean, there is a shower in this house that's like that. It's not my shower. But there is one. It's for some reason they built it like it was almost like a rainfall prison shower.
Rainfall prison shower.
There's 2 showers in there. It's back-to-back showers. And it's a really big
Rainfall-
space. I've never used it, but it's a big space.
Huh.
Army, shower, and basic. That makes sense.
Ah.
I can't believe we just found out that apparently AK Monkey's girlfriend was, in fact, and don't shoot me on this one, Monkey, the Barracks Bunny.
Oh no.
I've seen bed-sized showers.
Back had to get hot drinks.
I want a big rainfall shower. There's at least 4 people for reasons. I just like the aesthetic, you know? Sure. And I bet you want black tile in there too.
I want a large shower with a nice bench that I can sit down on.
I have a bench in my shower. It's good for moments when it's like either freezing cold and you don't want to get out, or for the emotional moments where it's just like,
I
just
like
to
mine
suffer.
to wash my hair because I have.
Because you have a full 3 feet of hair.
Yes, okay, and I love my long, beautiful hair. I take very good care of it.
Current wife was never my girlfriend. She went straight from fiance to wife. Wait, what? What?
Sometimes you just meet somebody and you know you got to lock it down.
Face hairs as long as they are tall. What?
My hair isn't 9 feet tall or long. I'm 9 feet tall at resting, and my hair stops maybe about a foot above the floor. So it's 8 feet of hair.
Ah, fantastic.
That's how math works, right?
Yeah, that's how math works.
Excellent. I'm very smart.
What do you mean 3'2"?
How am I 3'2"? When did I become 3'2"?
No, that is not even close to true, Haneto. High school and I
Aw,
asked to
AK
marry me.
Monkey,
It's been 15 years.
cute.
Wait, then who was the girl at the army barracks? This math ain't mathin'.
I'm just thinking about hair. I'm gonna grow it out even longer.
No!
Yes!
Hey, no, you need a haircut though.
Oh,
You need a trim.
no.
When Marin wifed me, I had to look way down. X fucking excuse you?
Mixcuse.
My girl.
My
Everybody's
girl.
talking about my girl.
My girl. The new girl in town. She
I
has
am not
9 feet
short.
hair. No, you're not. You are actually, in terms of human bodies, your human body is taller than my human body.
That is correct.
Mhm.
I'm also technically taller than Kono.
Everyone is taller than Kana.
How tall is human body? We're pretty average.
Mhm.
I need to measure again. I haven't measured in a couple years, so I always just say the last measurement I had.
Mm.
3'2", phase body is 3'1". What the fuck?
Lawless Jane, I'm going to throw you into the sun.
Jane, you're gonna get yourself suplex, little sir. Being
I
taller than
remember-
human body Kono is not that difficult. Being taller than VTuber body Kono is not that difficult either, because it's the same height.
Your human body is taller than my human body. This phrase has a strange energy. Good, it's supposed
I
to.
think, Kaneda, if I remember correctly, I'm like 1 inch taller than you. Shockingly, there's not a lot of people that are taller than me. And the ones that are like several inches taller, like past the 6 foot mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like Adora and Radia. That is, James, you're saying that like, you might as well be half my height. Bitch, I will fucking German suplex you.
And I'll watch.
I'll throw you in a goddamn river and watch you drown.
Throw him into the sun.
Gobi.
Go, yeet!
Those aren't really fair comparisons. What do you mean? I know for a fact you can't throw me? Really? Hi? Hi.
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 I'm sorry, it was instinctual.
Fucking gigantic? No, they're like,
Aren't they 6 feet?
there's, I think, 6'2".
Yeah.
I think both of them are 6'2". I don't think either of
That's
them are
fine.
6 foot even.
No. Long ass bitch. It's true. When I try to go to bed at night, half my body dangles off the mattress because they don't make beds that big.
Your knees just bend and your feet are on the ground.
Yeah, it's not a very good.
Brady
My
may be
circulation.
6 foot even. I thought she was over 6 foot. Oh well. I didn't know she apparently likes wearing heels almost all the time because it's funny to her. It was
She
also funny
told.
watching Radia on Kono's cooking stream.
It was very cute.
Especially because watching Kono like go around his little kitchen and like only previously I think I'd only seen him and Finn do it. And like they fit in there. But then when Radia is there, it looks so funny. Like Kono's running around like one of those playset kitchens.
Yeah.
I need a king size bed to fit me. I'm taller than Finn. That's not an accomplishment. Finn's 4'11". So's Hora.
Really?
Yeah, Hora's short.
Huh.
You think he was?
really
did,
is.
did you think Hora was a dwarf because he just liked dwarves?
No, it's just he said he was his VTuber model, and I was curious as to how accurate that statement was.
Very
Turns out
accurate.
very.
Apparently,
Yeah.
it's accurate to the point where like the only difference is apparently hair color and maybe length of beard.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, Atera is 4'11" too, but Atera is also I was gonna say self-imposed. That is not the word. Self-identifying short stack.
Finally, people I can be a little bit taller than. Well, the human body anyway.
Yay! 5'5". Yep. No, I'm
No,
still
how come?
weirdly enough, I'm like very average, but I'm also shockingly taller than a lot of people I run into out in public. Although I'm probably gonna get to the Scandinavian region and be short as fuck.
We have a wide range of heights, at least in the town that we currently live in, the one that you'll be coming to. I never felt particularly short while being here.
You'd be fine. Okay.
But if we go into, or I shouldn't say if, when we go into the city, then you might start feeling a little short.
That makes sense.
A lot of the tall bitches are in the city.
I'd go to live with Astral, and she's also a long. Wait, Astral's tall? That's hilarious.
Yeah. Astral is also Norwegian, I think?
Yes.
Some kind of Scandinavian. Yeah.
Oh,
Long ass
no, it
bitches.
could have
Sai
a-
is also a long bitch.
Oh. Sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 22 hours. Am I allowed to go EPDP? You don't have to ask permission. You should go to sleep around the 18-hour mark, Carrie.
Oh, is that what we're supposed to be doing?
Just need to find
Excuse
a job
me.
there. Speaking of, have a good day at work, Kanedu.
I was exploded.
You were exploded, but luckily we're immune.
Can't believe this. What do you mean, whoops?
Whoops. Whoops the daisy.
Have good work, Henedu.
Have good work. Don't, like, crash or anything. Or get distracted. Anyway, here's a titty picture. Next.
Whoa! What? Two picture.
They don't exist. Don't worry. You're not missing anything.
You don't know that.
Your treat, please be mean to Maren. She deserves it. All my wives are turning on me.
I got complimented by Hinidu. I'm trying to get titty pictures. What do you mean turning on you?
What the
What-
fuck? Share? No.
Oh,
Probably the first picture I ever post into Discord would probably just be like a picture of my back after the gym in Fellas. In probably the gym motivation, because I'm trying to work myself up to do that because my back is probably my most proud section of my body. Also because it terrifies chiropractors.
make chiropractors afraid. They are not.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
Thank you, Armstrong.
Oh yeah, my thighs are in the Discord.
With the nice socks.
Well, socks are still shoved in a box.
Socks in a box?
Socks in a box.
Socks in a box.
Punching a picture of Armstrong. What? Just like one of those like shitty Photoshopped things of me like fist fighting Armstrong. I wonder
We
if
need
somebody's
art of
made like
that.
an MMD file of that that I could replace with my fucking low poly model.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Surely it exists.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Thing is, I don't know where to like search for MMD files and stuff like that.
Ask the green woman. She would know.
Barron versus Senator Armstrong. Who wins?
That's a good question.
Depends. Does
I
he
like
come
this
to the
answer.
carnival? If he does, it's a sure win. If he doesn't, it's a little more difficult to determine.
Mm-hmm.
Guess whose model's getting rigged starting on the 20th? Is it me? Is my model getting rigged? Are you getting a new model, Faye?
My model starts in March.
Okay. I don't
And
know. I
I've
don't know who
almost
could it be.
paid off and be proud of me, I've almost already paid off a full third of it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Taking bets, get your tickets now. What? I'm talking about Ren? Ren's probably still here. All right, we also got an ad break. And then it'll be propaganda time, baby.
Yeah. Actually,
Whoa.
yes, Carrie, I have. I do have a perfected runway walk. I actually taught myself. But those are for other reasons that I can't talk about here. This isn't the appropriate place for it.
Because you've done a very dangerous thing. Because now, when I force you to get on a treadmill and you're listening to music, you're going to start strutting.
I do it when I take my power walks in the summertime. People look at me funny, but that might be because I'm wearing a sports bra and shorts, not necessarily because of the walking. I'm not entirely sure.
It's because your ass is hanging out.
I'm sorry! I don't control the bakery that God has bestowed upon my backside, okay? I didn't ask to be hooked up to a
Hephaestus
wagon.
himself forged my buttocks.
But the fucking God Forger Hephaestus demanded that these cheeks be steel and strong and sturdy, and now here we are.
Sorry, the Roman god Fornax, the goddess of baking and patroness of bakers, is the one who has blessed you with your backside.
Fornax said, let her have cake, and lo, do I have fucking cake. This is what I get for showing you my butt one time.
It was fantastic. Faye has S tier cheeks. Yes.
I'm gonna get so many booty slaps when she gets here.
I used to do it to my other roommates because we'd be like, the kitchen was small. So if like we were trying to like squeeze past each other or something, we'd like slap each other on the cheek. And so like I still tense up sometimes when I'm standing in the kitchen here, even though there is a 0% chance that is going to happen.
I'm just picturing I'm just laying on the couch and minding my business. You just start bongo tapping my backside.
No, you'll get like the walk into the room, the hard lean from like 4 feet away, and then just a smack. Want to go get food?
Yes.
Want some food?
You want some food?
You want some food?
Jumps like 6 feet in the air. Yeah, I want food.
Would anybody like some pound cake? I'd like some pound cake.
Psionic booty dip. Listen.
Psionic?
It's true. My cheeks are so powerful, it will damage your brain.
Damn. I can't believe Faye is an X-Men, but her mutant power is booty clap to shatter skulls.
All shattering booty clap. Do it jiggle, do it clap, do it shatter skulls.
I think of the old animation. That's the fucking I can't remember the what's his name? Blanca from like Street Fighter. It's an old animation. It's like Blanca makes pound cake. Would anybody like some pound cake? And then somebody like jumps up from the back doing like a spin kick. I'd like some pound cake.
I think I remember what you're talking
Let me
about.
see if I can find it. Blanca makes pound cake.
Let's go.
It is an Ego Raptor animation.
This
Okay.
amuses me greatly. I'm ready.
It's okay. We're going into video moment from now on, so I can turn off the music again. Blanca
Fabulous.
time.
Blanca makes
Blanca
pound
time.
cake.
Blanca makes pound cake.
Would anybody like some pound cake? I'd like some pound cake.
That's it. It's
I'd like
9
some
seconds.
pound
It is
cake.
9 seconds. It's like one of the first Ego Raptor animations 14 years ago.
Damn. Time really does keep moving forward.
I'd like some
I wish-
pound cake.
And cake.
All right.
love
The
it.
question remains. Are we going into the propaganda website now, or do we do the other stuff first? Propaganda?
Well, yeah, let's do that since that's what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, this is just pictures.
They're nice
On
pictures.
mobile, there's usually there's an identifier. I think this is okay. I figured it out on the browser. It's the ones that have a little play button in the corner are videos. So pizza time.
Pizza. Oh my god. It's so thick. Like my ass.
Where's the sauce?
Where's the
Where's the
Yeah,
cheese?
where
It's
is
under
the-
the sauce.
under the sauce? But that's cheese and no sauce. Wait a damn minute.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like on browser you can't scroll like you can. It also shows up like this when you're on mobile, but you can
Can we
like
look at
click a
the-
video. Oh Jesus!
That's loud. Oh, but that looks amazing. Ooh. Chicken.
There's the fun thing
Okay.
too with this site is most of the songs on here aren't copyrighted.
I love that. Some
Either that or they're
spouses.
covers of other songs, which is totally fine. I couldn't tell you how many Chinese covers of like popular American songs I've heard.
That doesn't surprise me. Some potato.
Yeah, this is red. I mean, this is was it Xiao Hong Shu?
Xiaohongshu.
Xiao Hong Shu?
In. And put the tortilla in.
The
Yeah,
Little Red
yeah.
Book, aka Red Note. Ah, okay. No, not the plastic cheese.
Listen, sometimes you need it, Marin.
Okay, that looks really fucking good. But yeah, a
That
lot of my
looks-
feed is food. And then, of course,
Can
there's
we
like...
look at
Yeah, which one?
the second row all the way at the end? That little dessert there.
Hell yeah, we can. Is really good for melting? No, the fuck it ain't. Ghetto?
It does, because it melts without splitting. And then you let it set. Yeah, like Big Mochi or something. It just looked really pretty, so I wanted to watch it. This is so
Butter.
soothing. Yeah, it is like mochi. Yeah. With grapes?
It was either grapes or like pieces of kiwi.
Oh. That's
Then
a
just
huge
give it a
mochi.
dimple.
Oh, dimple. I'll take 11.
Oh no, it is grapes. It is cut grapes.
Yeah, that looks so yummy.
But yeah, this is like you can easily cultivate your feed, which is why like I get muscly ladies over here, food. And then of course because I'm like American and stuff, I get like the TikTok stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this fucking sticker over here on the side. Like these are in almost every comment section. This and there's like
It's the one thing neither governing body expected, our citizens working together.
I want to see if we can find it later, but there in here there is a fucking there's one that's it's obviously AI generated. But it's like it's the fucking Statue of Liberty and what looks like a terracotta soldier
Oh,
holding each other, and it's so fucking cute, and people keep fucking posting.
approved. I love the little sticker comments.
Also,
Oh, hello.
there's so much gun content on here too. The first brick of mini.
The first brick of many.
Americans all over the site are like, I'm building this for you page one brick at a time. Or they're like, oh my God, my brick found me. Because they'll find like an old channel that they watch on like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, bunny.
Bunny! Oh my god, look at it! Get you, bunny!
Bunny! Tommy, if you want to join, you're more than welcome.
I love Bunny!
We can engage in propaganda together.
Yeah.
We can piss off the government together.
Let's piss off the devil!
往往只需要采用最朴素的
哇
烹饪方式。
Oh, pineapple.
Whoa.
Oh, the beef was filled with cheese.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think I recognize this art. I think I've seen them on TikTok before.
It's gorgeous.
There's so much of it.
Beautiful.
Also, yes,
Soup.
we do get this.
Hello, sir.
Ah!
Oh!
Hello.
Hello. Yes. I love a man making food.
First image. Just a titty grab.
Titty grab.
Oh my God. I don't know if you can do it here, but when you're on mobile, you can actually like hold on a sticker and it'll add it to your favorite stickers. Hi, Momo.
Hi, Momo. Kitty.
I was gonna say, it's an aesthetically pleasing man, okay?
Yeah. It's a great day to be a bisexual. How cute.
Oh my God, the squeaky noise.
Look at the little feet. I love you.
It does have a bit of a problem when you get like to the end of a video. It'll like slow down or it'll like jitter.
Yeah. Soup.
But yeah, chat, you should give into the propaganda and like probably leave TikTok and come watch this because there's no TikTok shop over here. And you can't pretend to be things that you're not. So like the vegan doctor and people like that who try to like pander vitamins and shit to you, they can't be over here because they'll get banned.
Yep. Oh, hello.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just a picture for a second. Oh, wait, this says live.
Yeah, it's a live photo, so it's one of those that kind of move a little
gotcha.
bit.
It has like that slight little couple seconds of motion.
Oh, hello.
Another thing that's on here that I haven't seen just yet in this feed that I've seen quite a bit of, there's also a lot of renovation channels where they'll like find like old like stone houses or they'll help like elderly people renovate their place that's been falling apart for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Usually whenever I'm scrolling, I keep finding a lot like longer stuff. So this stuff is a lot shorter.
Holy pancake, Batman.
Yeah.
Did you know they pushed his trial?
Yeah.
Again?
Again, yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like oh Lord have mercy.
Faye, we're gonna have a serious problem when I get up there.
No, we're not. We're gonna have great food. That's what we're gonna have. And then we'll be able to hold each other accountable to work out.
True.
See, it's the perfect system. No, they're eating my people! They're eating the octopi! They're eating the octopi! I can't stand that we're delicious! Oh, yes, the fashion.
There's so much good stuff on this app, and it's just it's all good stuff. There's no like there's what?
If I get on this, okay, so most of the countries in the eastern part of the world, in the Asian parts of the world, China, Japan, etc., 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 actively gatekeep their fashion weeks from the West, specifically from Americans. But if I get on this app,
oh yeah,
if I get on this app, grabby hands, grabby hands, grabby hands.
It's so there's so much stuff in here that is like so American coded.
That's very American coded.
It's the thing too is I love seeing it to the point where it's like we're not like I knew this, but it's fun seeing people come over and they're like, oh my god, my government's been lying to me my entire life.
Yeah, that's xenophobia, kids. The Chinese government does have a lot of issues and a lot of terrible things. So does the American government, and I'm glad that we're all coming to an understanding.
The thing too is, I don't think VTubers will do well over here because it doesn't kind of adhere to like a lot of the stuff that they do here. So like stream clips, I don't think are ever going to do well or really fit in over here. If you wanted to, you would kind of have to make like teaching stuff content. Or like talk about stuff that you like specialize in, which is why I'm really dumb and on my page. Oh, hi CAPTCHA.
It's a puzzle CAPTCHA.
Yeah, it's a rotate puzzle CAPTCHA.
That's fascinating.
I put creator and enjoyer of all things horror and fish.
And fish.
Because I'm like, maybe I'll do videos over here talking about fish. Talking about certain species of fish in like each little mini episode.
I think too, with how forward they are about like what you are is what you say you are, too, also will create a problem for like VTubers and such. Yeah,
that's because they do have the thing about like impersonation and stuff, and it depends on where they're going to draw the line on it. I have seen no VTubers on here in terms of like making or uploading content, but I have seen quite a few of the other like regular TikTokers that I see.
Yeah.
Good lord. Joel check. There's also
look at it.
Tons of nature videos. I've already found at least 3 different profiles on here that are basically Chinese men with a pot. And
Have pot, we'll
just
travel.
it's just as cozy and comfy.
Oh, look at that.
But yeah, there's like not really any
Well-
ads in there.
Well, yeah, Prey, but they don't like it when we say it out loud.
The Russian, Chinese, North Korean, US governments around having an enemy to fight so they can stay in power. Correct. More common than you think. True. Also, this is one of the things that I have saved from a different person, but it looks like the same recipe.
Yes. Jeez.
But this is a really fun app. I highly recommend it if y'all want to check out like an app or you're tired of like TikTok. The algorithm here is so much better in like giving you your interests.
They love their mayonnaise and potatoes, huh?
It gives it that little bit of creaminess.
That makes sense.
I was gonna say it's like how we add like heavy cream or something
It's-
to mashed potatoes, but
it's like a
mayonnaise also works
giant
as the binding
arepa.
agent.
That makes sense.
Sweet
like a huge-
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like a huge arepa.
Exactly.
That's incredible. More food. Yes.
I was gonna say my feed is very much food, and I've specifically liked a few recipes here and there so that I get more food.
Yes.
But yeah, you can see really often when like the second before it ends, you have like this slight pause,
That little weird
jitter.
kind
Yeah,
of yeah. Witches.
witches,
What? Witches.
Chinese witches.
Let's go.
We found Chinese witch talk.
Let's go. That's what we'll be doing.
I was gonna say
dancing around the fire.
POV 2 years from now in a farm
Yep.
in a farm fields in the middle of Norway.
Yep. It's an important enrichment activity.
Give me the fatty pork.
Oh, that looks so delicious.
I want to make it. I need to order a bottle of Shaoxing wine though because there's no fucking there's no Asian grocery store near me and none of the supermarkets carry it.
Oh, that looks so good.
Oh my god, guns! Thing is, I don't even
God.
typically watch guns and stuff. This is just here now for some reason. It wasn't happening when I was like scrolling. Hello.
Hello. Why, hello there.
Hello. Twirls hair, twirls hair.
Twirls hair, kicks feet, kicks feet. It's okay, I understand.
I was gonna say, do you want to do? Here's your subtly quote unquote subtly gay.
Yeah, subtle.
A phoenix
History-
couple, if you will.
History will say they were best friends.
And then there's this person. I thought Chinese people hated gays. Cries.
The Chinese people don't hate the gays. It's the government that's the problem. It's almost always how it goes. It's the government that's the issue.
Jesus, the music.
Swordfish?
Yeah. Marlin.
Damn. Oh.
Blue Marlin.
Damn, it's huge. Do you know
Oh, they're
if they
fucking
taste good?
gigantic.
But
That's
do they
sailfish.
taste good?
They can. It's
Are
a little
they
hard.
worth-
Usually you'll find them as like steaks
Mm-hmm.
more so than anything. It's though these are kind of more like game fishing. So people will take, if they keep them, they will take them back to the docks, hang them up, take pictures, maybe get it stuffed and mounted. Like my dad had a picture of a like 400+ pound one that he caught before I was born.
Wow.
And he had that picture hanging on the wall as long as I can remember. Also, I like the thing too that the people that are the Chinese people that have been using this, they're calling it the Chinese tax, and it's just they want pictures of cats.
Yes.
It's just pictures of cats is all they want. Oh, good lord. Wait, hold on. I want to see that. Oh, never mind. We're not doing it with the fucking TikTok thing. The TikTok face. I forget what those called. Bitmojis?
Yeah, the Bitmojis. Noodles!
Noodles.
Noodles. Send nudes. What, like naked pictures? No, noodles. I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. Having properly prepared marlin steak, once I can say that yes, it does. It just requires work and skill, and I don't have enough of either.
That's very fair.
Yeah, it's those larger fish are much harder to cook, especially in the case of like marlin and sailfish. Their sheer muscle density makes them a much tougher steak. Holy shit!
Oh, but change your name!
I would change your name, bitch! How could you? Welcome in, Raiders! I figured you were going to be going longer today, Kono, since it was the anniversary. Jesus Christ. We're
Happy
currently engaging in
anniversary.
propaganda. Kind of. It's food. We're talking about food. But welcome in, Raiders!
Welcome.
For those of you from Konos who don't know me, what kind of rock do you live under? I was in there earlier, but also Kono just raised the money for my legal name change.
I'm so happy for you.
I still need to figure out a middle name, though. I need to figure out a middle name, or just drop it.
Nah, get yourself that nice dramatic ass middle name.
Okay, we'll figure that out later then. We'll do something
Excellent.
stupidly dramatic.
Yes.
We'll sit down with Sai later tonight, too. Sai, if you're not doing anything, you can pop in and engage in the propaganda, too. We're currently hanging out watching, checking out Red Note, which is, aka, what is it? Zhaoshang who? Zhaoshang Shu.
Shu.
Zhaoshang
Something
Shu.
like that. Yes, yes.
AKA the Little Red Book, which is the current alternative that people are jumping to because it seems like TikTok's going to get banned prior to them apparently extending the sale date by 270 days as of last night. Farfanugan, Baron Farfanugan Rabitzowitz,
Rabitzowitz.
and TikTok in Chinese. I wish. Hi, Sai.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, and you're fucking awesome. I love you, and you're fucking sick, and I
That's
also
gay.
Fortnite
That's gay.
for you.
Oh. Olvi came back to say for you.
Yeah.
Green Castles GM, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Novatron, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. But we're actually kind of really enjoying scrolling through this. I really like it because fucking you don't get food time hungry. Okay, that makes sense.
Go eat. Oh, I love you too, Kono.
But it's there's no ads. Like it feels like when TikTok still had a good algorithm and pre-TikTok shop. So there's almost no ads unless it's like people that are like showing off clothes that they made that they sell on their own website and stuff, which is few and far between. But there's so much food. The algorithm is so good too because you get to pick what you want. So you get like pet stuff.
Hurrying kitty.
And then here's the Americans show me your cats.
They just want pictures of cats.
Not Cyclop cat. But like
I love the little bow tie.
I have like art. I get like nature stuff in my feed.
I want to skateboard down a beautiful road in a long flowy dress.
I have a longboard. I never had any space to actually use it on because the roads that have always been near me have been fucking garbage.
We have excellent roads here and hills.
I'm gonna eat shit. Show
Yeah,
me a
but
cat.
then you're
Nobody
gonna-
gets hurt. I don't have a cat.
Meow? Oh, that. Oh.
This is illegal. This is illegal
Why is it illegal?
because it looks too delicious.
Okay, well, then we will simply learn how to make it ourselves. That's really clever.
Very clever. I like it. I have saved quite a few of these like chicken leg recipes because there's shockingly a lot of like modified chicken leg recipes I found on here. I have one where they're like they're opened up like a vest.
Ooh. I love this song.
Mary requires longboard space. Let's go.
Let's go. See, when you get up here, we're just gonna cook all the time, and it's gonna be amazing.
But Faye, I still have a show to do.
And okay, and food first.
We make delicious food.
Look, like this.
And then I'll
strawberry
find one of the local
mochi.
fisheries, and I'll get a job there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is another thing that they do on some channels is they will show all of the ingredients and all of the weights and stuff right at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
which I fucking love because this
That's
is
really
far more
good.
intuitive than people being like, check out my website in the description.
Go to the link in my bio and then read my
And
life
then,
story.
and then once you get there, you find out that it's under a subscription model. So you have to give me $5 to look at the recipe that you wanted to
Like-
know how to make. And I'm also
like
not going to say any of the ingredients in the video. So like you have to go to the website.
Mm-hmm. Like, get your bag, absolutely, but be transparent about it.
Yeah,
Please.
that's like I wish I could get that recipe for the Brussels sprout salad I found because it looks delicious. But you go to the website and it's instantly like, do you want to subscribe for $14.95? No.
No, I do not want to subscribe for $14.90 freaking 5.
Show me your secrets.
Your delicious secrets.
Yeah, recipe and bio is insane rather than just like captioning it all in as you do it, or as they did right at the beginning, all sectioned out.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was
you
dough,
can just
there was how to make the
screenshot it.
strawberries on top, and then there was how to make the fucking, I guess, icing. It seemed like icing because it was cream cheese based.
Squeamch.
Squeamsh.
Squeamch. 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 Stretch.
How about $14.94? Lowest offer? Burn.
Burn. Mix.
Mix. Cream cheese. Mix.
I know I'm an adult because I'm excited to buy a new hand mixer for the house.
Oh my God. Yes. I get so excited for new kitchen appliances. I'm not going to lie.
We have one of those emulsion blenders too.
That's one of the things I don't have. My family has one here, so I use that, but I don't have my own.
Also, we found something for you specifically. We found you a nice kitchen torch.
That was, I think I had forgotten some because I walked out when I was looking for my electric blanket. That's what I was looking for a couple days ago. And I found a box sitting on all of my storage stuff, and it was a kitchen torch. I was like, did I go buy my own and leave it here and just haven't used it? Or did they sneak one and just put it here thinking I would find it eventually?
But you already have one. Now I'm gonna cry.
I will always have more kitchen torches. It's time to make creme brulee. I saved a
Creme
recipe
brulee?
for banana brulee.
Ooh.
And I think I'm trying to remember. I think in the recipe they actually use an air fryer for it. But
That's
you could-
interesting.
You could also it's basically creme brulee, but it's sliced bananas in it. Did I say creme brulee
Oh,
again? I meant creme
yes.
brulee.
In the so there is so you know those big like chocolate boxes that you get for like holiday times and stuff?
Mhm.
There's a specific one that they release once a year here in Norway around Christmas time. And wow.
This goes so fucking hard.
It does.
Creme
They
brulee
love him
required for
over here,
the
too.
2.0 debut. Oh, don't worry, we got a creme brulee. Hold on a second.
But what I was getting at is inside of they have creme brulee chocolates and they come in like, oh, is it? That's upsetting. And they come in like
Is it?
these little chocolate cups, and it's creme brulee in a little chocolate cup, and I can only get it once a year.
I don't think it is. It's watermarked. It has signatures on it. I mean, it isn't a crude style, but I don't recognize the style from any large. If that wasn't AI Smash,
No, if it's not AI, smash. If it is AI,
I
send
don't
on
think
fire.
it's AI. It looks like a
well,
style
look
that
at
we
the
can
shirt.
see here.
No. Look at the shirt. Look at the shirt. Specifically the collar area.
Of his,
Yes.
where like this weird like zipper or whatever is.
Weird zipper thing. It's got 2 buttonholes. Yeah, that shit's AI. Boo.
These look like filters. Okay, it's Batman.
Yeah. Nah, AI.
Yeah, that's AI.
Brothel is correct. Thank you, Broth.
Hold on, what is this? You know what? I would accept this. Make Texas Mexico again.
I'm pretty sure like the is it president? Is that what they call her? Because I want to
Yes.
make everything accurate. I'm pretty sure she said that since somebody wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico, they're going to rename the U.S. like
The lower part of the U.S., Mexicana. Or
yeah,
is it America Mexicana, something like that?
yeah, like America of Mexicana, something like that. Since we're just renaming shit,
Might as well.
might as well. Canada,
Oh?
Canada. Wow.
Canada.
Canada has already offered to take, what was it, Oregon, California, and Washington State?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. They've all, yeah, Canada. I'm sorry!
Canada. Fruit tea.
Rename North America Timothy.
There's a lot of these little tea channels that are so cute. I've
Tea
also
is
seen an arts and
wonderful.
crafts one of a guy who makes teapots.
Ooh. Is it one of those, like, really nice, like, soothing videos?
Oh yeah.
Where he's, like, sculpting the pot?
Oh, he does it's like super slow. You get to hear the scrape of the tools across the clay.
Ooh, I love those videos.
Renamed North America Timothy. What?
Timothy!
That's an edit, but the rest of
Yeah,
this,
that's an edit.
you'll accidentally activate the Acadians.
Oh dear.
Oh, it's
I'm
my
sorry
family.
that I can very rarely say Canada correctly. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry. Oh, hello. Suddenly I don't feel as bad. I wonder why.
The Caitlyn cosplay.
Let's go.
That's kind of impressive, actually.
Hi, Tommy.
Wait.
Here.
The creature.
Creature.
No, me. No, I'm not
Make
here.
make Wiggler small because it's cuter that way.
Oh, no.
You're not here, but I can
Oh,
see
no, I'm
you.
not. No.
Oh,
Where's the Benji? Thank you for the follow. Welcome in.
Tommy, he not here.
Tommy no
I know
here.
here. I know here.
Anyway, potato time.
Potatoes.
How go propaganda going?
Propaganda go good.
Ooh,
Delicious.
Propaganda
so cheese.
better than what Americanized TikTok has become.
Oh, they're so crunchy.
With the cheese. Those better be stuffed with cheese.
Oh,
They
stuffed
may be
with
stuffed with
would
cheese.
be-
They're probably gonna use potato starch for this to make the outer dough. Yeah, here it is.
Potamdo.
Potato.
Using potato starch with these often gives like the kind of springy texture once it's baked.
I made tater nuggets.
Yeah, I'm making tater nuggets.
Oh.
I've also
I
seen
must
other ones where they've
make
stuffed them with
them.
cheese.
Yeah, I
You
was about to
stuff
say, 'cause
some-
how smooth it is. I always think they're stuffed with cheese because, see, that's what I would think. You would just have
You stuff
squish
some
coming out.
You stuff some mozzarella in there? Oh. There's no way this is real.
It's not. It's AI. Her legs are like melting and
Yeah.
reforming.
I was about
You
to
could
say,
see
that's
the
some
f-
Middle Earth looking shit.
Yeah, the floor wibbles. And history will say they were friends. Best friends.
It's just the Phoenix
They
couple,
were
guys. It's just two women
roommates.
who really like hanging out with each other and live in the same house.
And they were roommates.
We're cat.
Eh.
More roommates. Oh
More
my god, they have a
roommates with a
child.
And
La
that was their
creatura.
cat. La creature.
Not unless
It
it's under
was-
special circumstances, Sunstar. Oh my god, more spiffing up noodles.
It depends on if I want legs that day or not, Sunstar. Sometimes I have tentacles instead of legs.
True.
Oh no.
Snow crab?
Yeah, snow crab pieces. That's the thing too. In a lot of these markets, when they do these, they'll sometimes show like what a lunch or something for them will be. And a lot of these meats and stuff come packaged at convenience stores.
I don't know how I feel about vacuum sealed crab.
It is in a refrigerated section.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's also BTS Cooking On. Is that an app advertisement?
I mean, would you like the BTS cooking show?
I think it's a game because it looks like little 3D characters.
I'll stick to Cooking Mama.
Better than Mama. One thing they do sometimes that's a little weird is they will try to make kid content that's similar to this. Although I think it does actually require... Oh no, there's a teen mode. That's what it is. That's what I remember finding in the settings. There's a teen mode. Speaking of self-care in Joma. Sweet Jesus. Oh my god! Elon Tusk!
Elon Tusk. I'm sorry, I was being given food.
Good, you need the food. Oh god, what is this?
Looks like he just went through the teleporter with the fly.
Oh no.
Oh lord, they fat.
Oh, it did the 1 second freeze and we missed the jump. Damn it.
Oh,
Aww.
What is
I
this?
love you.
Okay, those
Oh,
are pictures. We're not going to go through that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Grandpa!
That looks like a Mookie.
This ad finna make me
Grandpa.
act up.
I love cooked rings.
They're rice cakes. There's no escape?
You're
What do you
so
mean?
Puffy.
I love the cooking videos.
Cooking good.
Wait. Okay, my dumbass thought that was pancakes for a second.
They are technically
No,
pancakes.
no.
They're just rice-based instead of regular... Oh my god!
Oh.
Oh, hello.
I want that. I want one.
I want to be that.
One what, Tommy? One what?
I want to be that. Too bad I'm big-backed.
Woman, I'm gonna beat you with a tin can. No,
I was
you're
gonna say,
not.
You actually have my torso measurements.
Like, give me the bike.
You're
You know,
not. Marin,
Ross.
I'm gonna tell you a secret. You're smaller than me.
Brothy,
Yeah, but you
I
have
don't
bigger
think I've
baps.
seen you draw anybody in a race outfit before. Broth, you should draw Marin in a race outfit.
You should do that, Broth. That would be very good of you.
Yeah. Marin go new.
Okay, but I want a half jacket.
You bitches in your half jackets. Oh my god.
What do you mean?
Broth,
They're cool.
You gotta give her the
Hello.
gigantic bappers.
Muscles.
Oh, the race one pieces? Yeah.
But do you like girls?
And she wears glasses.
See this?
How do you say muscle mommy in Chinese? Jiro mommy.
Yes, I did say I would
Small
beat
did it
Marin with a
reverse.
tin can because Marin needs to love herself more.
Yeah, see, if you want to beat Marin with more tin cans, you do this.
Yeah, go to Marin's throne, buy her things.
Yeah.
There was actually one thing I found out just since I've joined this app is this little section where basically this is how you say it phonetically. The symbols over the top basically tell you how the inflections are supposed to be said, which I thought was super fucking interesting.
Huh.
So
Is that,
the
like,
line
different
straight
vocal
across
tones?
is basically just kind of a flat sound.
Okay.
The one going from the up to the bottom basically is a downward inflection. And then again, another flat one on the A. I don't think there's going to be...
I always got confused by those.
I can't think of the name. There's a name for it. It's basically a incentive from the Chinese government back in the 50s trying to get people to more easily learn Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also why if you've ever seen languages, there's simplified and there's traditional. Simplified is from the same efforts. The thing is nobody uses simplified apparently in China. I've seen multiple videos where people are like, simplified is much easier to learn how to write, but nobody fucking uses that shit. You have to fill out paperwork. It's gonna be in traditional.
Oh, so like Norwegian and New Norwegian.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the same thing here. They're trying to restructure Norwegian to be like better and more understandable.
I was gonna say that's what a
No-
lot of
no
countries
one-
are doing with as globalization has increased over the years. They've all had incentives to try to help people learn their language faster and easier.
Well, no one uses it because kissing is now 3 syllables long and it translates directly to face licking in English. So nobody wants to use that.
I think face jousting could be a viable one. That sounds kind of badass.
Face jousting sounds kind of badass, yes. Oh, hello. Harness, hello. Marin,
up.
are you good?
Wait, who's that one dude with the glasses who has the chest harness that holds somebody up by their ponytail in the anime? Is that
Oh,
Jujutsu
Nanami?
Kaisen?
Yeah, that was
Maybe?
Nanami from
Ponytail?
Jujutsu
I was
Kaisen.
gonna say, remind.
New
There's a
English now it's
blonde
25 more
guy.
Hold on,
homonyms.
I-
Oh god.
Yes, that's Nanami. from Jujutsu Kaisen. I will
with
pull
the,
up the
yeah, with the
frame.
blonde hair, the
Oh,
blue
yeah.
shirt. This is the same thing. I
Also-
think these are
Yeah.
actually guys from a different game. These guys are cosplaying, I think, the same character from a different game that's about dating really hot guys. I've seen it on occasion because I know people have been fawning over the game, but I have no idea
Isn't
what it's
it
called.
The I know what it's called. God, but I can't bloody remember it. Yeah, this is what Tommy's thinking of. I'll put it inside chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the blonde guy with the he has the
Yeah,
big,
that
he has the
guy.
big strut
Yeah.
before he beats the ever loving fuck out of a teenager.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah.
But yeah, you find traditional stuff on here all the time. It's super cool. This looks like this is an outfit thing. This is Kibi.
Gimli. See, I saw the rabbit a little earlier, and I thought, like, for a second, like, I feel like that's what Adora would look like with a winter coat.
Winter coat Adora win?
Just fluff.
That would be. But like Winter Adora would be really pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, I have an idea now. I might scribble it if Adora's okay with it.
Adora was here a minute ago. She usually comes and goes though, so she may just be lurking.
I might poke
Yeah.
her later if she
She
doesn't
probably
mind
wouldn't
me.
complain if you just did like a fun outfit thing.
Yeah.
Just like a really floofy lap bunny.
Yeah.
Who look cute. Also, then the Duolingo bird with the bazooka nipples.
Not the A&W root beer. I saw that.
Cannon. Dovis Advocate, thank you for the follow. Welcome in, Dovis.
The can
Oh
can.
boy, here we go.
Oh yay. Oh, speed loader.
Wait, you hear that in the background? Oh.
Oh yeah, no, this is something I knew a while back. Is like you can fit cans of soda in t-shirt cannons.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh wait, that and also I just remembered last time I was looking around, I saw
Good
that they
lord.
have
Yeah.
bolt action pool sticks.
The Duolingo's looking pretty excited right about now.
Yeah, it's one litty titty.
That's AI. That's
Wait,
AI
hold up.
video.
That is AI.
Yeah.
Oh good lord. Ma'am.
What the fuck?
Hey, my feet look like that. Nice. Oh, this is pictures.
It's the bar.
Champion!
Fluffy Chimkin, look at the
It
feathers.
looks like a chicken coral piece.
It
It's
looks
a fancy
I was
chicken.
gonna say, it looks like a silky without the feet feathers. A pom-pom crested Polish is what it's apparently called.
I love you, pom-pom crested Polish chicken.
I look, when it comes to chicken, I still like the mountain chicken.
The frog?
Look, it's a chicken.
Help. My heart can't take it. See, chat, this is the things that we were missing on TikTok. It's better in every way. There's no ads. I go from food to beautiful women to beautiful men to more food. The guns are new, so I'm kind of half ignoring the guns. And then I get cool nature stuff. I'm being so very gay.
It is so very.
I wish I could pull this off right now. I can't. I'm too scared. Makeup is scary.
We can learn makeup together then.
Makeup is scary and I'm beefy.
Yeah, but you want to be beefy.
Particularly man with the teeths.
Mm-hmm.
Scrimps! Oh, it's pictures. Darn it! I wanted a recipe. He must scrim. He must scrim.
Scrim. Me when I wake up in the morning.
Not a video, more pictures. Damn it, I keep falling for them. Cat tax from California. Babies. Anyway. Maybe I shouldn't have been clicking on all those beautiful women because now the food's going away. No!
No! My feed is being corrupted by hot ladies.
By women?
By women.
Taxifornia?
I hate that.
What's because they have like that looks like shrimp paste. I love these like various recipes of like shrimp paste or potato. It's simple meals with tons of vegetables and stuff in it.
Love
The
it.
cat reaching for it. Why am I so easily amused? I'm a child. I'm a child in a new playground.
You're not a child. You're having a nice time.
I am having a nice time on a new app. Hello.
It's like a breath. Oh. Hi there.
Wait, that's... What's her name from Zinless Zone Zero? As a McDonald's mascot.
I don't know. Is Endless Zone Zero?
I was gonna say Tommy does. Tommy, what's her name?
I'm sorry, what? Who?
This character. This is from Zinless Zone Zero.
Oh,
Nicole. Okay, that's it.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, never mind. I got distracted by getting timed out by Red Claw.
Did you deserve it?
He has automated the word skibbity, and I keep on finding
Good.
new ways
He probably
to get
did
it
it
through.
after I said I did it before. What the fuck is this baby? He's so
it's a
small
dog.
and chunky.
I've never seen a baby
He's
so
a potato.
chunky. Bye-bye. Look at the cheeks. They're so small.
He's just a chunky potato.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Okay. This one is actually straight, but I am still perplexed.
9 times out of 10, it's still a woman in makeup.
These stickers are so good. The fact that you could just post pictures that you have makes it so much better. Oh, hello.
Ball jointed doll? Ball jointed doll?
No, statues.
No, a statue. The hands threw me off for a second.
I'm sorry, I just got
That's-
distracted by something Broth sent me.
Broth, what have you done?
Broth, what did you do?
So, do you remember a recent post that Palm made?
You'll have to elaborate. Palm makes frequent
Oh,
posts.
is it the pom pom post?
No, it's the Megamind one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Broth just sent me something.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that in the Discord.
Can we
I'll post it in the side chat, but I'll nuke it in like 10 seconds.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I hate that.
I see.
Oh, I hate that so much.
I see.
I hate that. I hate that a lot. Broth, why? Don't give it to the mean, good sir.
Listen, oh, also, Broth, honey, I answered you, dear, just in case you didn't see it. Big horsey.
There's also, I haven't seen him here, but it
Bird.
usually shows up when I scroll on my phone. There's a guy who is essentially a Chinese cowboy. He taught himself English like 8 years ago, and he speaks with a Southern accent.
That is incredible.
But he hasn't come across here. Why does that just look like Monica?
Monica?
Monica, I think her name's like Cinnamoroll or something. She's a octopus VTuber.
Octopus?
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 Yes, an octopus. Wait,
Octopus? Is that communism?
wait. Is it a figure?
Is that?
Restart Union? Oh my god.
Is that?
It's in case in
Oh
the event
my-
of capitalist crisis, break glass.
Holy shit!
Why do I feel like that would have been pressed by now?
It's plastic, but it's fucking funny. It's fucking funny. I like it.
Oh my god.
Gun?
Gun?
Again! Again!
I can see it. I don't know if that's something's called slash only.
Mm.
Armed and dangerous.
Indeed.
Oh god. What the fuck is this?
Not real.
It's almost definitely not real, but it's a 3-minute video. Okay, it's just a whole bunch of fucking fast-paced
It's just-
desserts.
Random things. I need it.
I need it.
I need it.
I need it.
You want to fill the house with plants with me, Marin?
Yes, yes, I do.
Excellent.
I want to put carpets where carpets don't belong. I want the stuff hanging off the ceiling.
Yes.
I want a cozy
understand
reading
me.
corner where we're all
Yes,
three gonna sit, but
yes.
none of us are gonna talk to each other because we're way too engrossed in whatever gay shit we're reading.
Excellent. Yes.
Round.
Oh my god.
It's not a cat, that's an orb.
He doesn't know what to do. He's just like, huh?
Wait, that's the same cat from earlier.
No, this one, the one from earlier had shorter hair.
Oh.
His body is round. Ma'am?
Ma'am?
Respectfully.
Very respectfully.
Sorry, what were we doing?
Anyway. More guns, more guns, more guns. Hello. Yes, officer. Anyway. Oh! Oh. I want to travel. I want to travel.
I know. Soon, darling. Soon. Soon, soon, soon.
Pitties? Where? Wait, what? Pitties?
Is it pitties or titties? Oh, pitties.
Anytime I hear pitties, I just think of pit bulls.
Yeah.
Pibble.
Just
Pibbles.
to have a baby.
Yeah.
He even brought a kerosene lantern.
Look, if you're gonna travel around places like this, you gotta bring a kerosene lantern.
Mm-hmm.
It just
It's
fits
about
the
the
vibe.
aesthetic.
No electricity, no problem.
I was gonna say, in some of these shots, he is wearing what looks like semi-traditional clothing.
Somebody's getting their money out of their drone.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, you get a drone for a reason. You're damn well gonna use it.
Oh, definitely.
I'm gonna say I'd use the shit out of it for B-roll and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On every level
Ow.
except physical, I am a horse.
Haunts.
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 I'm a degenerate. I'm moving here permanently. Let's go. Do what you gotta do.
I'm okay.
She looks like one of those like meringue cookies.
I don't know why when she turned into an ice cream cone, it reminded me of the edit of the kid rolling and then somebody put them into Wii Sports.
Yes.
Mickey!
Oh.
She's just kicking.
Yeah.
Nah. Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, the calicos blend in with the sheets.
Oh no. It's triple calico. Oh god, hello.
That's so many.
Oh, I don't know what that is, but I want it in me.
Oh, it's pictures, damn it.
Boo!
It looks like a ciabatta bread almost, mixed with chives and bacon and sesame seeds on the
looks-
outside.
Scrumptious.
Yeah, it looks good.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she would get along with a Mookie really well.
Look at that angry cat. Look at
He's upset.
Mother, give me the oats.
he's so
Give me the cat food.
mad.
I feel like if I knew this is probably asking for something, or this is definitely asking for something. There's a question mark up there. I'm gonna guess it's probably asking for pictures of your cat because all of the comments are cats.
Meow.
Meow.
Meow. Meow.
Miku?
Meow. Meow. Me.
Hatsune Miku!
No, it's the girl from Fortnite.
My arms are slack. I can't see the horizon. Hatsune Miku!
Is that the girl?
I'm in a fucking building again. Oh my god. Cake.
Yeah, use code Ground if you want to buy the Miku skin.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna propaganda our way through the ad break, and then we'll swap to something else. Also, I don't actually think that this is propaganda. This is a disclaimer for chat. I just think it's funny to call it propaganda because I was raised as an American.
You're the propaganda.
But wait, Mr. Government, the Chinese propaganda looks really promising. And they have cheap and affordable health care.
One day xenophobia will end.
One day. But that's
One
also
day.
the day that we become the Imperium of Man.
At that
then
point, I
xenophobia will be
likely,
directed elsewhere.
at that point, I likely won't be alive anymore, so
What are you telling me you're not going to have ascended to like Daemon Prince status? By
I'll
giving
just
yourself
go
over
in
to an Eldritch God?
I am the Eldritch God. People give themselves over to me.
Before it gets Idiors, who wants to move to Europe with me? Already on it!
I'm taking it and putting it in my house.
Yeah, I've
when
been
it-
picked up. It's just taking a long time to move the crane over the ocean.
Yeah.
Just put it on the boat.
Funny because we actually looked
Be
into
5
that.
minutes after joining Red Book. That was kind of pog, maybe?
Oh no!
But the propaganda activating the bisexual neurons? Correct.
No, the world can't have us all working together. That's bad for capitalism.
Capitalism's the worst system imaginable, but it's the only system we got.
I'm going back to bartering.
Thank God.
I know how to sew. I can make you things in exchange for other things.
I can do housework.
There you go.
I may not be a full expert, but I have had to install some electrical appliances before.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cake that goes on display. This is not a cake you eat.
No, I'm eating that cake.
I want to eat the cake, but I'd feel so bad for cutting into it.
I wouldn't. I love frosting decorations means there's more frosting, and I love frosting.
I love
love it
frosting,
so
but I
much.
still think a good cake requires good cake, actually. Cake over icing.
Well, yeah, no, you need good cake for a good cake. Otherwise, the frosting is just sitting on top of garbage. But I'm speaking in terms of preference. I will always prefer a thicker frosting over a thinner frosting. And if you just hand me a tub of cream cheese frosting, I will love you forever.
It's Xiaohong Shu. Like if somebody said Redbubble, like that isn't the t-shirt site.
God, I don't even know if people really use Redbubble anymore these days?
Like those really shitty companies that try to make their own merch do.
Hmm.
But that's pretty much it.
Mm.
Good fucking lord.
Wow.
You ready to feel like
Okay,
a fairy princess, Fang?
Yes. I want to be a fairy princess.
That moment when they've cottage cored your cake.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the company is Wishing Well Cake. Mmm.
Interesting.
I was going to say, this is One, this is not true at all. This is American propaganda because it's shitty memes.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a baby. And I know the ad break has started. I'm getting my last couple minutes of this in before we jump over to something else. Take me away. New HTTYD Isle of... Oh, How to Train Your Dragon. Wait, there's a new ride? So hear me out, Faye.
I'm listening.
What if
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Mirror...
Nod. Mirror. Yes. Mm-hmm. I had to say nod out loud because you can't see me do it.
Yes, makes sense. Because good lord.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I thought these were holes at first, like in the wall. That somebody had like punched through the wall and then decorated the hole that they made, but they actually are all just mirrors. Okay. I think glass sword, anyone?
Mm-hmm. Oh!
Huh. Bro got the diamond sword.
There was a trend in like resin making a while back to make like the most transparent swords possible and then stick
Ooh.
them in the water like that.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that's what this was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks like it's glass instead of resin. But also... What is the sauce? Soy sauce, oyster sauce, honey, tomato sauce? Oh!
Ooh. Little sausages.
Every time.
It's so cute.
It's so good. It's such a good sticker.
It really fascinates me the
Stevie?
way
Sorry,
the
go
way
ahead.
the way preconceived notions just sort of disappear once people just fucking speak to each other.
Hell yeah.
Like, it's absolutely fascinating.
Good lord.
Whoa.
It's Peking duck.
I've never had it before.
I haven't had it either. I've gotten to see it.
It looks delicious.
Yeah, because I've been to Chinatown in New York, and they have meat markets there that'll actually have Peking duck like hanging in the window and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it always looks so good. There's no... Oh, it's literally just straight up the auto of him.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of food, I think I'm gonna pop out and eat mine before it gets cold, if that's okay.
Okay, have fun. Or do you wanna eat and watch the Octagon houses?
Damn, I do like Octagon houses. I'm gonna be muted while I chew though, if that's okay.
Enjoy your noms.
I'll be right here though. I might make a little comment every now and again, but I got potatoes to eat. Hold on.
Enjoy your potatoes. Speaking solved 99% of problems. 0 out of 10 governments agree. Give us ASMR, please, of the duck being cut. Also, I haven't even started this video, but I want to point out something. This is an octagon house, but you also see what's next to it? An octagon birdhouse that's an exact replica of this other house. That's insane.
That is very interesting. I'm not gonna give you ASMR for free, sweetheart.
Oh yeah, don't go asking for that, Dova. Sorry, I didn't know what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the duck cutting video.
No.
Octagon
That's something
houses spark a
special
certain fascination
that I do
in
for my
American
community
architectural
once in a
history.
very blue
With their
moon.
eight-sided
You get a little bit of a
fans
back.
wraparound verandas
Mhm.
with often domed roofs.
But this
they
is so
stood out in a
cool.
landscape dominated by square and
I've never
rectangular
seen
homes.
these.
Though they trace lineage back to ancient times, their heyday in the United States was surprisingly brief, spanning
Not
roughly
surprising.
from the
Oh,
mid-19th
Jesus.
century to the turn of the 20th.
That looks like a
A
prison.
person today might find them curious, even whimsical, but behind their distinctive shape is a story of one persuasive promoter. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's
Oh.
explore this house. While we could
A
dwell on
traditional
ancient
colonial?
European precedents, it's enough to note that the octagon shape has surfaced in human structures for
Huh.
millennia. The Tower of the Winds in Athens, dating to somewhere between 100 and 50 BC, was built to measure time, and over 1,000 years later, during the 17th and 18th centuries, Dutch colonists in New York and New Jersey recalled octagonal church designs common in Holland, constructing a handful of
Holland?
eight-sided religious buildings based on traditions from their homeland. Meanwhile,
always
Thomas
the Dutch.
Jefferson gave this shape a subtle nod
Excuse me.
when he designed Poplar Forest, an octagonal retreat
Poplar
house
Forest?
in Lynchburg, Virginia, beginning in 1806. These examples foreshadowed, in small ways, the surge of interest
Oh,
that
wow,
would
the
grip
glass
America
wall.
a few decades later. The
Ooh.
person
There's-
most
there's your glass
responsible for
house. Don't go throwing
popularizing octagon
stones.
houses was Orson Squire Fowler. Though not a professional architect, he
Uh-oh.
was actually a phrenologist.
No,
and
no,
was credited
no,
with
not the
simplifying
phrenologist.
soul-shaped a
Not the
personality.
phrenology.
Regardless of how bad his research was,
I
Fowler
had
was
a few
confident
bites, so
and
I'll be fine.
charismatic, having a flair
This
for
is way
public
too
speaking and
interesting. I'm
marketing.
sorry, food.
In 1848, he published the octagonal mode, followed by an expanded version titled the Octagon House, a home for all, a new, cheap, convenient, and superior mode of building.
And adapted to rich and poor? Wait.
I don't-
Plan is more efficient, healthier, and
I feel
even
like an
easier to build
octagon
than
house
conventional boxy
would
homes.
cost more.
Fowler's basic claim went like this: if you circle
I
a
mean,
stake with a string,
normal
and mark
houses
a
are
round
irregularly
foundation,
shaped. They're not
you can then square it off
perfectly
twice, so you have
square.
8 straight sides,
No.
effectively mimicking a circle. He believed that an octagonal house offered more interior space for the same perimeter length and allowed for better ventilation and sunlight. He was also
Hold on a
enthusiastic
second.
about
Hold on.
allowed
Holding,
for better ventilation and
Waiting,
sunlight.
anticipating.
The kitchen is on the right over here. The dining room is on the left, and the pantry is attached to the dining room instead of the kitchen.
That's a weird.
And then I think DP is dry pantry. I'm not sure, 100% sure on that though.
But that's odd.
Sitting room, parlor, WS&B. I don't know what WS&B would be. And
I am also unsure.
I don't know if B's are bathrooms or something else. There's probably a key somewhere, I'm sure.
He was also
For the
enthusiastic
acronyms,
about
but-
gravel wall or concrete
probably.
A
construction.
butler's pantry
Though
for
in
addition
practice,
silverware?
many
Maybe.
octagon houses were built with wood or brick.
Oh, true.
According to his
Wash, shower,
beliefs,
bath.
a
Yep.
central stair hall could be bypassed
Um,
entirely in favor of exterior verandas.
I'm just so
that
used to
allowed
things
movement
being
between
referred to as
rooms.
like baths
The
or
notion
water
that worked better in
closets.
warm climates than in cold ones, which forced people to go outside to get from room to room. Victorian era builders of the 1850s and 1860s were already used to creating angled bays and 130
Wait, forced to go outside? That's an interesting idea. Huh.
corners. in
Fuel
more
room.
traditional
Okay.
houses. So transition
And a furnace.
to an eight-sided plan
Interesting.
wasn't a giant leap.
A
Fowler
cistern.
A
insisted that
music
octagonal
room.
walls would capture more natural light and regulate
They had an
temperatures
observatory
better.
in one.
However, real-world execution had its quirks. The shape forced some rooms into odd triangular corners, and building a proper staircase proved tricky, especially if the owner wanted an open central space or planned to use the walk-around porch to get from one upstairs room to another. Enthusiasm ran
One
high
mountain,
from
please,
about
and a
1850
diet?
to 1870.
Is that a
diet
diet
New
lick?
York's Hudson River Valley.
How do you
where
have a
Fowler
diet
lived,
lick?
as well as
I don't
New
know.
England, the Midwest, and into parts of Canada.
Is Pinky going on a
Thousands of
diet? Is that
octagon
what this
houses
is?
sprang up, some more
Pinky?
modest, others extremely lavish. By the 1870s,
I mean,
this
yeah.
eccentric style had begun
Compared to the ones that he's
fade,
just
overshadowed by
shown.
more conventional Victorian
Mhm.
plans and taste. Nevertheless, let's take an in-depth look at some examples.
No, you can't
Before
lurk. We
Fowler
have
came along, Thomas Jefferson
questions.
No,
had
get back
taken a keen
here.
interest
Get
in
back here,
geometric
Stinky.
house plans. Poplar
do hope you
Forest,
have a
which
good
he
lurk,
began
though.
building in 1806, is sometimes called the earliest American example of an eight-sided residence.
Hold
Here's
on.
the
I
estate
don't
as a
like this weird, like, almost Roman-esque arches on the bottom, followed by what looks like a speech-giving area.
Yeah, it looks odd.
Like, it feels like they built a stage.
Well, it looks like they were confused. It looks like they took the original front of the house and lifted it, and then put the arches underneath it.
It's even
You see-
slanted. Look at that.
Yeah, especially from this angle, because that part up there with all the columns looks like it's supposed to be on the ground.
Yeah, that's what I
But
was
it's
thinking. And this is like,
and then that's supposed to be like not even there. So they just lift it's wrong, okay? It's just wrong. I don't like
It's also very
it.
interesting that these upper windows have shutters, but these lower ones don't.
Is it because they're so close to the ground?
Maybe they're new? Because see how there's like a hill on the side and how the hills go up over here? Maybe this
Yeah.
was under at one point. It could have been like washed out, or at some point they dug it out for whatever reason. But that wouldn't make sense of why those columns were there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
It's
weird.
called the earliest American example of an 8-sided residence. He used the estate as a private retreat.
So many
and
windows?
continuously
All the
painted each
windows!
angle and facade.
More windows. I
Pepper
love
Forest
natural
didn't
light.
directly inspire the 1850s
Oh yeah,
style.
it was
Fowler
this
himself
was
a
Thomas Jefferson's house at Poplar Forest. It was a slave house. It was a plantation home.
That explains so much.
Yeah, it was a plantation home.
Unaware of its existence when he wrote his books, but Jefferson's design stands as a distinguished precursor. Today,
Wait.
Uh-huh. Wait. That
Did
looks-
they put the fan dehumidifier in the diagram? At the
Did
bottom
they?
floor?
Is that what that is?
That's what it looks like. It looks like one of those like industrial fans.
How peculiar.
I can't quite figure out what that space is for. Even then,
Neither can I.
a laundry room. I'm guessing those are water heaters up top, gravity fed. I don't understand this center lower floor with like the wavy walls.
Today, Poplar Forest is a National Historic Landmark open for tours with ongoing restoration efforts to help return to
Yes.
Jefferson's original vision.
Mm.
Next, we head
Original
down to Natchez,
vision?
Mississippi.
Mississippi!
Longwood, also known as Nuts
Mississippi
Folly, remains
wood.
the largest octagonal mansion in the United States.
Oh no.
Designed in 1859 by architect
Oh,
Samuel
damn.
Sloan for cotton planter Holler Nutt.
Of
it is
course.
A stunningly ambitious
Yeah.
structure with a Byzantine-style dome on top. The Civil War halted construction in 1861.
It's interesting that they
making the
specified
upper
cotton
floors
planter.
unfinished.
What else did he do with the
The
cotton?
basement
What else
and
did he do
Yeah.
with the
were
cotton?
perfectly
No.
complete,
Who
making for a
planted the
dramatic
cotton?
contrast between the grand,
Who
ornate
planted it?
level and the bare bones above.
I'd like an answer.
Today, Longwood operates as a house museum, preserving its surreal mix of completed and unfinished spaces.
Aw.
Traveling back north,
Finish
we'll make
it.
a stop in Irvington, New York.
Mm.
Perched atop a hill overlooking the Hudson River, the Armour Steiner House might be the most visually spectacular.
Oh, hold
of
on, this
all
just
Oxford
reminded me.
houses.
Hmm.
Let me see.
Hmm.
Where is it? So here's the house. But I need a picture of what's to the right of this.
To the right? Oh, Stephen King's home?
This is a picture of his house. That's not it. Okay, hold on. I want to
Does
see.
he still even live in that house?
Yes, he does. And he hates it because people show up to his place all the time.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Where's the open in maps? Gibb Road. Where's person? There's person.
What?
So there's the
Whee!
house. And then
Okay.
over here. Oh, wait, where
Is that it?
Oh, I could have sworn I remember seeing it. Maybe it's in the back. So apparently, Stephen has like what is essentially a library and like study adjacent to the house. But I could have
Oh.
swore it was when I saw it. It was like right next to it.
It would make sense for it to be. Is that a church next to his home, though?
This one right here.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe?
that's another house. It looks like
Oh, okay.
it just
I was
has like
gonna go.
a kind of like a turret tower there.
I was gonna
but-
say it's gonna be real funny if Mr. King lives next to a Christian facility.
But yeah, apparently, like I've seen some people where like they'll pull up because people know where he lives, and he'll be on the porch, and he'll like flip him off and tell him to go away. Because people will just like come up and start like pulling on his fence and stuff. Look at that fence though. Look at that gate. Spider. Anyway,
Hiding in the corner, super fucking normal.
why is it moving?
Built
What?
around 1860 and later expanded in the 1870s by tea importer Joseph Steiner. It
Tea
features a
importer, you
reminiscent
say?
of a classical temple.
Oh my
complete
God,
with elaborate
those
Victorian
tiles.
era detailing. It's
Tea
believed to be the only
importer.
fully domed octagonal residence still standing.
Oh,
Once owned by writer Carl Karmer and
Fully
briefly by the
domed.
National Trust for Historic Preservation, it is now a private residence.
so that's a lot of
meticulously
conditionals
restored.
there.
Variations
the
on the
fuck
basic
lives
design
there?
yielded wildly different results. Down in Abeville, South Carolina, built between 1852
Oh, I hate
and
that.
1856,
It's
the
terrible.
Fraser Presley House stands apart for its unique layout, combining 3 octagonal components connected by a central
Three
hallway.
octagonal
This
buildings
stucco
slammed
brick
into
house
each other.
puts forth 3-story
just doesn't
columns
look
and originally
good.
had a widow's
And
wall
the
on top.
racism.
Datsun Ford parked in front. The
Legends
Datsun
told that
truck
its
parked in
paint
front of
may
it.
be the only one like it
God.
in the country. Proof that Fowler's writings sparked plenty of individual
Piazza.
interpretations. Passed down through generations of the same family, it remains a captivating relic of the octagon craze. All across the Northeast.
Why
and
did y'all paint it
Midwest, pockets of
white?
octagon houses linger in older neighborhoods.
Probably because
In
white
San
people live
Francisco,
there.
the McElroy Octagon House, also known as the Colonial Dames Octagon House,
Open
now
12 to
operates as a
3?
museum.
Only 3 hours a
In
day?
Washington, D.C., there's the Octagon House, built by William Thornton. Ironically, it isn't a true octagon, but it earned its nickname thanks to its somewhat angled design. In smaller towns across the country, you may stumble on these 8-sided curiosities, often lovingly preserved.
That one's
or
kind of
adapted as private
lopsided. Do you see it?
residences, bed and breakfasts,
Yeah.
or museums.
On the left
But
side.
the rarity of such surviving structures raises the question, why didn't octagon houses become a lasting mainstream style? In Fowler's eyes,
I was gonna say, that
they were
looks like a New
superior
England
in
style. I
every way,
recognize those
cheaper, more
windows.
spacious and healthier. But building them correctly took more careful measurement.
Okay, that's
and
gross
stronger
too.
carpentry skills.
Yep, Seven
especially if
Gables.
one wanted to avoid awkward rooms or
Fucking Florida.
complicated roof lines.
John
The
Wood!
geometry was easy to imagine, but complex to implement.
Ah,
Furnishing
the thing
wedge-shaped
that
rooms
stops
also
most
proved
people from achieving their
challenging, and the
dreams.
wraparound
Fucking
porches demanded
math.
frequent upkeep.
Guys, this is a great
Additionally, the
idea.
octagon was simply a
Fucking, it's
novelty, but
architects
crafted
versus
to
engineers
increase.
again. That's all it is.
Yep.
Victorian styles
Yep.
evolved, more traditionally rectangular.
Anyway, here
and
comes the
ornate
architect. He's gonna
designs
give us
sporting
his
gables,
the
turrets,
brand new
and
design
elaborate
shortly.
trim became the norm
What
for
the
most
fuck is this? That's defying
Fowler's
physics. Why did you give me this?
advocacy for construction also
This isn't
contributed to
fucking
practical
working.
difficulties. Contemporary builders were not fully convinced by this untested approach.
Why is the roof clipping into
Many
the
owners
wall?
chose
Oh.
conventional wood frames or brick. Some tried Fowler's methods,
Oh.
only to encounter cracking or structural issues, especially in climates prone to freezing.
Oh.
The physical realities of building often clashed with Fowler's more starry-eyed claims.
Also, hold on. Do you see that at the top? How it's being held
Which
up by its
top?
own chimneys? The very, very top.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of.
It has
That
it has
doesn't-
4 chimneys, and they're using the chimneys to either I don't know if they're using the actual tower to brace the chimneys or the chimneys are bracing the tower. I think
be
it's the
both.
tower bracing the chimneys because it would be centered. It would have a good gravity, and they're probably trying to keep the chimneys from falling outward and falling down the building.
Do we have an engineer available to explain this to us?
Chad, if you could explain.
I don't know if anybody in the community that has engineering experience.
By the late
Aside from
19th
Adora,
century,
but
the saw
Adora's
was
is
widely
railroads.
seen as an eccentric
Yeah, a
craft,
different
just like
engineer.
Fowler's other passion,
Ah.
chronology. Nevertheless,
I mean,
some owners
train
treasure
law
their
is
quirky
cool.
homes enough to keep
Yeah,
them
it
well
is pretty
maintained over
cool.
generations. Today, standing octagon houses often exude an air
I
of
don't like this
romance,
one.
part architectural
That looks
curiosity,
weird.
and
It gives
part
big
historical
animal ears
artifact.
vibes for some reason.
Enthusiasts will drive
Cat
miles out
house.
of their way to see a carefully preserved example.
The
marveling at
clap
the
house.
and the sheer audacity of some
I
exciting
said cat house. Oh, clap. Oh.
Clap,
dear.
yes. The clap.
Oh, no.
Syphilis, welcome in. Thank you for 32 months of season passes. Each more
Wow.
venomous than the last. Why are they more venomous than the last?
That's a lot of bug bites.
You're just gonna end up making me immune. It's gonna be like the poison jar situation.
You're going to slowly microdose yourself with different kinds of poisons, make yourself immune to poison, and then somebody's going to try to assassinate you and fail, and then you're going to realize you're in a situation you can't get out of, and then you're going to try to kill yourself with poison, only to realize that the amount that it would take to end your life is too much to have on hand at any given point. And then you're going to wind up getting captured, and it's just going to be a bad day all right.
And shipped
all
off
the
to
way around.
Norway.
Yes.
Yes, chimneys are sturdy. Chimneys are not sturdy. What house do you live in? Chimneys fall off their buildings all the time.
They kind of peel off.
They'll peel off
Mhm.
if they're on the external part. If they're internal, then it's usually the rest of the building that's holding the chimney up and not The chimney holding the building up. It's why when you see like so many of those older buildings, one of the first things that comes off of the roof is the fucking chimney just falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Built an 8-sided residence in the 1850s.
It's also though like a bad
also a
chimney
reminder of the
will like
long history of
lean
American
just after
design,
being built, and you're like, well, we fucked that one up. Tear it down, do it again.
In search of more efficient or eye-catching forms. Much like other once forgotten styles, octagon houses have returned to public awareness through preservation movements, tourism, and media spotlights.
It feels weirdly
From Walmart's famously
lighthousey.
unfinished upper floors to the
Yeah.
Arnold Steiner House's storybook dome. These
Oh my God,
structures
that
remain
pillar.
Evidence of the fearless creativity in an era that otherwise prized ornamentation. Wherever you find them, octagon houses invite us to wonder what might have happened if Fowler's vision had swept the nation more permanently. How would modern subdivisions look if the quote-unquote circle, approximated by 8 sides, had caught on for good? Would we all enjoy better sunlight, cross breezes, and geometry in our day-to-day lives? Or would we just be
Geometry in our
posting
day-to-day
photos
lives. Ask the average
tucked away
American.
into
They
a
don't want
circle
that.
into the living room? Sometimes, as history shows,
But
a
it probably would have been
realistic vision is
nice.
perfectly viable and stands the test of time. At other times, it becomes a historical curiosity.
I was gonna say, though, they said like in places where it freezes, some of the walls would just like break off. But like that's something that could be fixed with materials.
What are your thoughts on octagon
Yeah.
houses? Do you think Fowler was onto something, or are you glad these designs stayed in the
It's
past?
peculiar.
Let me know down below in the comments section.
I don't think we need octagon homes. I think that's too much math.
Dome houses.
Oh dear.
Aw.
Oh, the Earth ships. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the geometry. Congratulations, chat. You now have geometry in your everyday life. It can't be stopped. It won't be stopped.
Ugh.
All right, Fang. It is food time.
Food.
I mean, are you gonna eat your food?
I did eat my food.
Oh, okay.
I had some bites of food.
Are you gonna
Tommy, are you
finish
okay?
it?
Oh, I got some sushi before I got home.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What kind of sushi?
I got a crazy roll, I got a California roll, and I got a rainbow roll.
Ah,
I like
Oh.
fish.
I like fish. I like
Mm.
shellfish. Which is
Well,
why this
speaking
one's
of, I
also
haven't-
about Osaka seafood.
I haven't done this today.
I haven't done one. Fish.
Yeah, I haven't fished today.
I already do math for work. You can't hurt me with geometry. I agree. I'm not afraid of geometry. It's
I
seafood
used-
time.
I use geometry for my job.
That's like Dave being an absolute chaotic gremlin, but she's actually crazy good at math. Because her job is math.
I'm only good at sewing math. Any other kind of math, right out the door.
Oh, it's like the goofy bits where they have to like get a person to do like an equation, but they can't figure it out. Then you're like, all right, so you have these patterns.
Yeah. I have a specific equation that I can use to calculate exactly how much fabric I would need based on how many pattern pieces there are and the widest part of those pattern pieces.
Ooh. It's
All about
scallop time. Who
ratios.
wants scallop tongue?
Hello.
Scallops have tongues?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much today.
A lot of basically these kind of shellfish have like tongues to like move themselves around and stuff. It's usually just a big muscle. You can call it a tongue. It's a big muscle that can sometimes reach out of the shell to like push them around and stuff. Never did calculus, have no idea about it. I thought scallops were just tongue. That is not true at all. It's also the part that you eat from a scallop is not, in fact, the tongue. That redder part that we just saw was the tongue.
Yeah.
That medallion shape that everybody's used to finding whenever scallop is served to them is just a large muscular center.
Yeah. It's very tasty. Scallops I like.
I got introduced to scallops at like a really young age. My parents took me to like my first Chinese buffet, and they had bacon wrapped scallops on the buffet. And I was obsessed with them. Yeah, this one that he's cutting up is the one that everybody expects from a scallop. And then now he's going for the tongue.
I see. Oh no, it's sliding away.
Some of the digestive stuff is coming out.
Yummy.
Delicious.
Also, don't worry about me, Marin. I'll grab something else to eat later. So I promise I will eat today.
Okay. I haven't eaten today either.
I had breakfast. I try to eat because what my doctor person has had me do is switch to kind of grazing throughout the day.
Yeah, you eat when you're hungry.
Yeah, exactly. But I do try to have like centralized meals for the purpose of keeping track of my time. And also because it serves as like a point of where I actually have to force myself to relax.
Take a break, because this is like go nibble on some cured meats and then come back.
Yeah,
All right, now I'm going to have to
exactly.
ask this man to throw some cheese on these scallops.
He's not going to put cheese on the Marin.
No! It's okay. I'll make, I almost said bananas Foster. That's not what it's called. What is the
Banana.
oyster dish that's like with cheese and green onions and garlic and stuff?
I don't know. I don't eat oysters.
I want to say Foster's is
damn
also
it,
used
Frost
in that
finished
name.
it.
Oh, the Megamind. I see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oysters Rockefeller, that's it. Oysters Rockefeller is what it's called. Back from the American craze of the, I'm brain farting, hold on.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I believe it was the 30s? 20s or 30s? Maybe 40s. Maybe it lasted into the 40s. But there was the thing for East Coast cities had a very big hard-on for oysters, and Oysters Rockefeller came about from its popularity of incorporating it into fine dining dishes by adding cheese.
Cheese. Just
Cheese.
cheesy.
Sybil's was pretty close though with the Oysters Mornay. I think Oysters Mornay is the locale thing. It's slightly different, I'm pretty sure, but the Rockefeller was the one that I was thinking of. Yeah, and then the oyster beds got decimated. You know, as you do. We actually learned that on stream here because Tasting History did an episode of it. He did an episode on the oyster craze.
Oh, it's interesting seeing them cook it directly inside of the shell.
It's a clever way. The shell's extremely hard. And it's a fun way to eat because then you also don't have to keep using dishes and stuff.
It looks yummy.
Accidentally an ecological disaster. Accidentally my ass. We knew what we were doing. You don't get to oopsie daisies your way into an ecological disaster. We've known about the animal population for centuries. It's also, if you want to know how Max Miller's like attitude is right now with like everything going on, he did a video recently on the meals served at the Japanese internment camps.
Oh.
Yeah, one of his most recent episodes was him making a meal from the Japanese internment camps. Which I like in the sense that it's like, in this current period of people being like, America's gonna be great and blah blah blah. It's like, oh yeah, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Want to talk about those mass deportations again?
No, I think that's a good thing to do. Show people
Uh-oh.
what exactly.
Faye, look away! Faye, look away!
I can't believe it. I'm too delicious.
I can't believe we've been turned into octo lollies.
Okay.
Wait, they look so good. They look almost
No!
candy.
Twitch, just a heads up, that was all one word.
What was?
You said octo
Lollipop.
lollies. Yeah,
Oh,
octo
yeah.
lollipops.
Lollipops, yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm used to calling them either like suckers or lollies.
It's filled
Who
with.
put an egg in there? No, I'm kidding.
Dude.
They put an
know what?
egg in
Put
my
an egg in
head. They put an egg in my head and then they stuck me on a stick.
Urchins.
It was... Ooh. Marin, it was terrible.
But you're the one who asked for the lobotomy. They just put an egg in its place.
You know what? Put an egg in it.
Put an egg in it.
Put an egg in it.
They offered me an egg in my trying time.
I was gonna say there's nothing an egg can't
Wouldn't it?
solve in most dishes. If you think of anything that's like cheaper poor food, what's one way to spiff it up? Drop a fucking egg in it.
Yeah, I like my ramen. Put a fucking egg in it.
I like my soup. Put an egg in it.
I like my eggs. Put another egg in it.
It's also a good source of protein.
That is true.
You know what else is a good source of protein? My bag of sliced and cured meat.
Yes. I'm gonna have to go nibble on some cured meat during the next commercial break.
I want to have sea urchin one day. I've never gotten the opportunity to try it.
I had it before Christmas when we went to the conveyor belt sushi with me and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really say because I think it was the seaweed I didn't like in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just like, it was one of those not one of those rolls. It was one of those like nigiri that's just covered in it's like whatever the meat is on the top, rice, and then the whole thing's wrapped in seaweed.
Mm-hmm.
And it just tasted like metallic to me. I'd want to try it again in like a different situation where I could have just have it by
Without
itself.
the nori. Yeah.
But it's very, very soft and creamy almost, is what I remember from its texture.
Well, that sounds pleasant, like texture-wise at least.
Yeah. There was one of the rolls I got at that place though it looked like a mince of some kind. Frankly, in appearance, it looked like raw beef mince.
Oh.
Just really, really finely minced thrown on top of something like that. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I want to try it. And I ate one of the two pieces that it came with. And I was like, oh, that doesn't taste very good. And I tried looking for the name again. I looked it up. And it's because it's the leftover trimmings of tuna, of the pieces of like tuna fillets and stuff that isn't used in typical sushi or nigiri. It's the leftovers that have been minced, mixed, and then thrown on top of another type of sushi.
Interesting.
Oh, and that's the difference between expensive tuna and cheap tuna.
Well, it was usually the remaining bits after you've like cut away all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not like it. I did not like it.
Oh.
But again, I was thinking about it. I was like, I think it's the seaweed that I don't like, because the whole thing just tasted like metal to my mind. And then like when I got to this case, the sea urchin, it tasted very similar, and I was like, I'm starting to think it's a seaweed. Creamy saltwater it is. What do you mean?
Is about it. Interesting.
Oh no, they got you head pregnant? I can't believe Faye is actually
no.
Zeus.
No. No,
Hey,
no.
look, it's better head pregnant than Carl Weezer pregnant.
Oh, God.
What?
You don't remember
You don't remember the episode with Carl Weezer getting pregnant in his ass from a jellyfish?
Oh yeah. Oh, good lord.
Shows were weird.
Yeah, they've always been weird.
The little soy sauce and the little fish.
No, the other packet's wasabi.
Cute.
Huh. Him getting face huggered? Huh?
Yep. Yeah, he gets face hugged and then gives birth out of his backside because you can't have a chest burster at a child's TV show.
That makes sort of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But God, fucking children's cartoons are actually always weird if you watch them. Because, like, I remember, like, the children's cartoons from, like, 2000, 2010. Every single series had at least one giant woman episode.
Yeah, the writer's thinly veiled fetish.
Thinly veiled.
Look.
They corrupted me as a child, Faye. I was turned into a monster because of them.
And now you have a beautiful wife that's 9 feet tall and can get bigger on a whim. You dare complain?
Thank God.
I'd go for one of those.
Thank God.
Thank you, Tommy. I could go for one of those.
Hey,
Zeus, it's time to pay your child support. The IRS is with us. There is no use running.
He would turn into a duck and fly away. Or swan, or whatever it
Oh,
was.
it was a goose. And then he would go bang a bull.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
It's Greek mythology, honey. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I was about to say, wait.
No, you heard me.
Not, Tommy, run.
Wait.
Tommy, run. Tommy, run and don't stop running. Tommy, run. Oh no.
I can't believe he just fell into Hades,
Damn. They got him.
falling down the pit of Tartarus. More sea urchins! I just realized I still have crime brulee on my head. It's time to put the crime brulee away. Ah!
Oh no.
I'm putting me away! Oh no!
No. I'm sorry, you can't get rid of it now. No, there you go.
Here we go.
Crime is forever.
It's true.
Crime is forever.
It's
Crime-
interesting to me because sea urchin is textured the way human tongues are.
They look visibly like that, but they fall
visibly.
apart. They fall apart very quickly. Which is why they're like, they only use like spoons and stuff here. And like, this is really delicate. See how he's already
Oh.
like pinched his way through it?
Okay, so I could like squish that against the roof of my mouth without
Oh
really...
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Those are egg sacs. All right.
Are they?
I don't actually know that off the top of my head. I don't know what type of organ that these function as, or if it's like food storage. If this is like the equivalent of eating their fat.
Huh.
They do look like a bunch of spheres stuck together. I thought they were gonads. They could be. Here, let's look it up.
Let's find out.
Jesus, those are big puffer fish.
They look silly.
guy.
They have silly faces.
Aww.
Oh no.
Oh no.
They are the gonads.
Ah.
Damn. Eating nut over here. Sorry, I had to. No! The baby. He doesn't
dear.
know what horrors await him.
My child! My son and or daughter!
Remember, Chad, for just 15 cents a day.
You too can save an octopus.
Can save another cephalopod from destruction.
I also want to make it clear this is a bit. I do not care that other culture actually eat octopi. I have eaten octopi.
I've eaten octopi. They're
Octopi
shockingly
will-
delicious.
Octopi will
eaten
eat.
so many different meats.
Yes,
Octopi
Rin.
will even eat each other. Like,
See, like if they're eating each other, I should be able to eat the octopi too.
that's true.
God, those oysters are huge.
Just simply be the octopus that doesn't get eaten. And here I am, not being eaten.
That's always the funny thing too, is the octopus, like, I was about to say, wait, I think there's like an age span of where they'll be harvested, but if they're bigger than that, they won't be. But I was like, no, wait a second, that's not true.
I thought that was
Not-
with lobsters.
No.
From the dermatologist
lobs-
waiting room. Aww.
A lobster usually won't be harvested if she's carrying a bunch of eggs.
That's
They usually
true.
throw her back.
And it's they'll also mark her, so if they understand that she's like a breeding lobster, then they
Yeah, they
also
put a
won't
notch
keep
on
her.
the tail.
But it's usually very easy to find like a lot of the various crustaceans if they're carrying, because they carry very visibly,
Very, very much so.
both crabs and lobsters. Although I still think of do you remember the horseshoe crab cooking video that we watched?
Vaguely?
That still grosses me out. Because they cut like the horseshoe crab open, and it just looks almost like the meat beehive inside, with a bunch of little yellow balls.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't like that. Yeah, breeding females and old males don't get fished. The plastic spoon.
Toss that grumpy old bitch back into the fucking ocean. That's what the fishermen say.
Back in you go.
That's what the fishermen say every time they accidentally catch me in a net. Put that bitch back.
Oh my god, this one's heavy. What could possibly in here? It's just you.
Yeah, it's just me. Look, at least it's not another one of those like 100 Gar incidents, okay?
God, what's in here? It feels like 100 gar. Oh, that'd be awful. They tear up my net. Oh my god, it is!
Oh my god!
It'd be even funnier though. In this case, it's Faye getting pulled up at 9 feet tall and then being like, you can put me back now, and then just swelling to the size of like a blue whale.
Just
Just
becomes
tips the whole fucking like industrial fishing operation over. Just
becomes
Wait,
mega
that's
tall.
just the scene from fucking
Just starts walking.
to say that's just the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean with
With
Cersei.
Calypso.
Calypso, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, where they free her and she just grows to her actual size and then just fucks off into the ocean.
Yep. No, she turns into a bunch of crabs.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
She gets like
Yes.
really big, tears through all the ropes they tied her to in the mast, and then she turns into like a bunch of crustaceans and stuff.
I mean, technically I could do the same thing.
Space crab.
Grab.
Good lord.
Crunch, that's understandable. As somebody that's very much like a textural eater, I get it.
Messes my brain too much. I don't know why. That's understandable. I really like crustacean in a lot of its like forms. But I also really like them fried. I'm sorry, there's just something special about fried shrimp. Shrimp's bugs.
Scrimps is bugs! My favorite thing! Scrimps is bugs!
Good lord, how old is that oyster?
Poor thing. Grandpa Oyster.
I was gonna say
just minded
that
his
has to be an
business.
ancient oyster to be that size.
Why would you harvest such a thing?
The worst thing
Grand
too is
oyster.
naturally harvesting oysters requires a dredge, which is basically just dropping a heavy as shit metal bucket to the bottom of the
that-
ocean and dragging it
yeah.
behind your boat.
Isn't that why it's kind of a problem? Because you're like scraping so much shit on the floor of the ocean and killing things?
Yep. And oyster beds can very quickly go
Lemon
from
juice.
a rocky oyster bed like these are to essentially an actual reef. So a lot of the times while dredging for oysters, you'll end up destroying small sections of reef.
That's sad.
It's also oyster ecology is extremely fascinating.
Oh, boat!
All right. So the
Nice
thing with
boat.
oyster beds is they're actually ancestral and ancient in some places. Oyster beds are essentially pile upon pile upon pile of each other.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where sometimes they'll even rise out of the water. Let me see if I can find. There's old depictions. Let me think. Like an oyster bed art. I want the old news articles
Mm-hmm.
because I know there was a depiction of the old New York oyster beds. Well, here's one. This is an art, but this is a picture of like an oyster bed at low tide. This is a very young oyster bed. These are just seeded. But a lot of the times, ancestral oyster beds will be oysters upon oysters upon oysters.
Mm-hmm.
Till they rise out of the water. But none of these are the picture that I was looking for. Like, here's another low tide area of what a young oyster bed can look like.
Oh, wow.
And like, they span a good distance.
You weren't kidding with the rocky thing.
Oh, very much so.
It's essentially literal stone.
Yep. That's always why the outside looks so kind of,
That's fascinating.
Yeah, oysters are really cool.
Yeah.
But
So see, I'm doing a good thing by not enjoying eating them because I'm helping curb demand.
True, technically. Oyster beds are also really good storm buffers.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricanes and large waves will hit an oyster bed first and often weaken it before it makes true landfall.
It's like a surge preventer and things like that.
Correct.
Mhm.
The cuttlefish
Cuttlefish. Oh dear.
or retro Japanese neighborhood. Temple street food and tea house.
Ooh.
Or we
That's
can do
so
the weird thing
cute.
and go look at Chinese IKEA.
Chinese IKEA?
Chinese IKEA.
There's IKEA in China?
There's IKEA all over the world. There's Costco in China too.
Huh. Well, it's one of those things that you know, but you don't really like expect to be true, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Where it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I didn't know that was there.
Yeah. Like,
Plant ball.
plant ball! It's a
I
ball
like
of
that the
plants.
potatoes were also a ball. The Swedish restaurant.
Hey, Swedish restaurant.
Oh my god, plant ball. God, my feet are cold.
Did you put on your socks?
I don't wear socks around the house. I'm putting on house shoes.
Oh, how shoes work. You should consider getting some socks.
I need more fuzzy socks. All I have right now are athletic socks.
There you go. Some nice fuzzy socks. Look, if you don't get them now, you're definitely going to be getting them later.
I was
That's all
gonna say, I'm gonna
saying.
do them later for sure.
In the summertime, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I do have like longer socks, but they're not like thick or fuzzy. Is that monkey bread?
Little dude that's shaped like a monkey.
Monkey. I would go to a
little bummed
standalone
out.
IKEA restaurant. Well, usually these restaurants are right at the front of a store, so you can actually just go to the restaurants at most IKEAs.
Burger. It's so small, the burger.
See, I'm a little bummed out because I went to IKEA 2 days ago and I got there so close to closing I couldn't go to the food court.
Aw, man.
Oh. That just means you got to go again.
Did you know
Yeah, I need to
IKEA
get
apparently has
more
scrap
times.
boxes?
I did
Yes.
not know that.
Yeah, there's scrap boxes apparently either throughout or towards the entrance of most IKEAs that are just free to take. Things like old particle board or pieces of like furniture that have broken off or they've had to like disassemble and isn't useful anymore. So you can get that sweet, sweet, ooh, stir fry. The sweet, sweet free arts and crafts materials from IKEA.
Yeah.
Chicken rings!
Chimkin.
Oh, what's that bar? I feel like it's fish. I feel like it's fish, but it's coated in cornflakes.
Cornflake.
We gotta try all the things, he says, clearing out the fucking display.
Right. All the
Aaron.
sticks.
The Fortnite Miku has a Lego skin.
No.
Just no.
And
Knife, spoon,
I'm not spending money on it.
chopsticks.
I see you know how to play knifey spoony. The Wellington.
Oh wow. It's a. Ow. That is.
I don't
so
think anybody
much
told them they're
food.
supposed to break up the cornflakes before you try to fry something in it.
Eh.
Fishball soup. I love bok choy.
Yum 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 yum. Ball.
Oh, shrimp
cake.
cake. Okay. I'm gonna guess it's like shrimp paste and stuff inside. Oh
Yep.
no, it's the whole shrimps.
Shrimps.
There's shrimps
Shrimps
in
is
there.
bugs.
There's shrimps in there. Ketchup.
Ketchup dispenser. That's definitely something they have for like if any little ones come through.
Ketchup has a lot of uses. I've never been one for like sauce when I go to places half the time.
I love sauces.
I was gonna say I usually do. Like I love like any kind of like ranch and stuff. Or if there's a place that like their sauces are kind of like part of the experience, I will definitely get them. But it's like if I go to like McDonald's or like and get like chicken nuggets or something, I never get a sauce.
Interesting.
It's a mini,
Why
but
is
that
that?
tomato is bigger than the patty.
Okay, that's too much tomato. That's like too thick.
I like
So you
tomato.
see, that's what I say when I don't. That's what I mean when I say I don't like tomatoes. Big, thick slices of tomato like that on a burger, in my opinion, just aren't necessary.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can agree that it's definitely like way too big.
Like if it's proportioned out correctly, sure, fine. But like beefsteak tomato slice, no.
Queen's coming in. I'm back after lunch. I'm now immune to this stream. Wanna bet?
Lamb skewer, ooh, with chili powder.
Yeah.
We could make that here. We can get lamb here.
Hell yeah.
Citrus tea.
Citrus. Oh goodness.
Citrus.
I had the hiccups.
Oh no.
Beefsteak tomatoes with just salt and pepper. If I
But
hear
that's
somebody
different.
else bring up steak in this household one more time, so help me. Salmon Wellington.
It's a salmon welling. That's.
Does it still have the mushrooms and stuff?
I would assume so.
Oh. Oh no, it has something else.
Oh.
It's like cheese and spinach?
Huh.
Okay, it is spinach. You know what? I'm in. The only thing that was like similar to like an actual Wellington was the outside. Okay. Black truffle prawn with rice. Ooh. Scrimps.
Interesting. Scrimps is bugs.
That sounds like it fucks the salmon thing. It does. It does look really good.
Okay, I'm gonna dip out for a little bit, but you have a good time. I
You will
might
be
pop in
remembered, Tommy. Also, thank
Oh,
you
you
for
are.
the big dono.
later. You're welcome. Get your name legally changed so that you Marin good.
I'm changing my middle name to Pimbus. No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing that.
Marin Pimpus go round.
Pimpus go around. It was nice seeing you, Tommy. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Good to see you too.
Oh
Okay?
God, the
Y'all
steak
have a
is
good
kind of
one.
sad.
Oh,
Good
no,
night,
that's-
Tommy. Get into some trouble. You have the trouble
will.
pass. You're allowed to get into trouble tonight.
You can
no,
do one
I'm-
bad thing today.
I got r/shitty food porn loaded up, so that's
Oh,
probably what I'm gonna be doing. Yeah.
Oh. Oh shit.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. Hey, what I'm looking at. Okay, yeah.
I like that it sounded like he just threw himself out the window or something.
I can't believe Tommy defenestrated themselves.
At least it's better than spaghettification.
True.
A kid's meal spaghetti with tomato sauce and chicken rings. God, I remember chicken rings when I was a kid.
I've never had chicken in ring form.
They would have them in my school, but there was also like local restaurants in my small town that would have them on the menu.
I blocked out most of my schooling.
You what? Walked out or blocked out?
Blocked out.
Gotcha. Do you at least
did
still
walk
know
out.
things?
Oh yeah, no, I got it. The only thing I focused on was the educational parts. Everything else just doesn't exist inside
Everything
of my
else
head
was
anymore.
dissociation.
Yes. See, I did high school backwards. Everybody else blocked out the actual learning parts and focused on, oh, the good times and the memories and oh, I went to prom. And then I did the opposite. I focused on my learning and removed everything else.
Mine was learning and band. That was pretty much it. And I went to prom my senior year, but I still can't figure out if I had a good time or not.
I went both my junior and senior year. Mostly for
cheesecake.
my mom. Cheesecake.
Oh wow, it's
We
far
thought it was
softer.
bread.
I was
It's
looking at it and I was like, it
mousse.
looks almost like a chocolate bar.
Oh, I want cheesecake now. I like cheesecake. I like to eat it at nighttime. Nobody's gonna know that reference.
I love cheesecake so much. My supermarket has cheesecake, like handmade cheesecakes, and I've gotten one before, like mini ones. And I had the worst stomach ache that night that I could only correlate to that cheesecake. And half the time, every time I walk past the bakery and I side eye them, I'm like, is it worth it? It might be worth it. It might be worth it.
Did you know, Marin, that they have this new funny invention called Lactaid, and you
I
can
do have
take
Lactaid,
it.
and I did take Lactaid for this. I took 2 for that one.
Did it not work?
Just I'm here. Mini here. Could have also just been a bad cheesecake. I don't know. I don't know,
It's a
but I do
sad
remember
day.
having the I'm fighting for my fucking life in here moments.
Oh no, not the when the restroom becomes a battleground. Oh,
I'm trying to figure out what I'm
that
gonna
ice
have for
cream looks
dinner
so
tonight.
Good. Food.
Cured meats, or am I gonna go grab
meats.
something else because I don't have? Well,
I
actually,
would have
there's
something a little.
A family member attempted to make his version of Asian food last night, which was basically
How'd
just
that work
tossing
out?
what he thinks goes in Asian food together over some chicken.
I see.
It was tasty. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like based off of anything. It was just like
No, it was just this is my vague white person idea. Of
we
how
made
this
that
should
joke
work.
too. I was like, this is the equivalent of white person taco night for Asian food.
White people take out night. We have vegetables in the stir fry bag and chicken from the stir fry bag.
Oh, I'm gonna vomit. Oh,
What I'm saying or what's on screen?
that what you're saying. But also a fried onion dispenser. Hello,
Crunchy onion dispenser?
that's witchcraft. Just half of
That
it
looks
plops off when he turned it.
That looks scrumdiddlyumptious.
There's lobster at the IKEA store.
At the IKEA store. Remember when Walmart had the lobster tanks?
Yes, I do. It was there. Do you mean you mean talking about the food lobster ones? Do you also remember when they had
Yeah.
fish tanks in the pet section?
Yep. And then it became like a fancy Walmart thing. You would know you were in the fancy Walmart if they still had like the fish area.
The like bright blue fish area with the fish wall.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, cozy
I don't
time.
think- Cozy time. Oh, this might make me sleepy.
It's okay. I'm sending you to bed at an appropriate time.
So like 6 a.m. Got it.
No,
Listen.
it's 6 a.m. What?
Sitting there watching our gay cannibalism show. Oh God, it's 6 a.m. What?
Every time. Witch!
Listen, Rich. Listen, we're just very invested.
In gay cannibalism time.
And listen, if you're not invested in gay cannibalism time, then what are you invested in?
Listen, we just
Nothing
need to get
worthwhile.
the good old what you call it? The good old Feeding Hannibal cookbook. I already have
Yes.
the Necro Nom Nom Nomicon.
Oh, the people that wrote the Necro Omnomnomicon follow me.
Ooh, that's fucking cool.
It's my favorite follow. Well, one of them, I should say. The coffee counter.
Tungsten Booba.
Sounds very heavy and uncomfortable.
Very heavy. I can't believe. I wonder who Ordin cast that on.
I'd rather it not be either of us.
I think it was Syphils. I think Ordin cast it on Syphils. Sorry, Syphils. Your titties are now trying to tear their way off your body.
Oh dear.
What's that bacon-looking thing on the right? I always feel bad when they do like the decorative things in coffee and then it's to go, so then you put a fucking lid on it and just slurp it. Like, wow, you put all that work. Smacks the lid on it. All right, we also have an ad break any minute, any second.
Any second now.
Any second now.
Any second now.
But I am going to give the words on stream because I'm going to go get some crackers and meats.
Enjoy your crackers and meats.
Oh my God.
I think I am going to go ahead and pop out here and decompress a little.
That is
Thank you for
totally fine.
having.
Enjoy your night. Thank you for joining me at the very beginning of stream.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. I got to spook you. It was hilarious.
Go make your propaganda account so I can send you things
Oh.
more directly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, wife.
It's time to
I
start sending
will.
cute things to each other on a different app that doesn't have ads.
Okay, I will go and do that. I love you very much. Goodbye, chat. Behave yourselves. Do your words.
Also, don't forget to go check out Faye's YouTube channel.
Oh my god!
Then we're gonna go check it out. She needs more watch hours to get partner. She's almost there. Any second. Any day now.
Any second now.
Any day now. And then YouTube will have to pay her for her content.
And then I had to get the money.
Gotta get that sweet, sweet money.
Bye, Marin.
Bye, Thing. All right, guys. I will be back in a couple minutes. I will give you all the music. Things already going. Sunstar, you have permission to hit the new round if I'm not back by the time this one ends. When a new app has no ads, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, fuck them ads. What'd I miss? Sorry about that, guys. Sorry it took so long. Also, hi, Newell. Okay. We'll finish this round, and then we can get back to the Vibio. To the maxin', relaxin', yappin', and chattin'. Holding. Oh, that did work. Hold line. Long? Oh, we already got long. Fake R. Makes sense, makes sense. Holding, of course. Of course. Okay. Let me check some things while we wait. Oh, good. Good Lord. Hold on, I'm just gonna catch up on Discord really quick. Oh. Oof. Ooh. Uh-oh. All right. All right. We can go back to a regularly scheduled cozy time. Regularly scheduled everything. Train? Oh, it is a train. I forgot we were in the subway. My brain was thinking this was a bus for a second. Oh. Wait, this is a really smooth ride. Shockingly quiet in comparison. I've only been on New York subway and that shit was clanky as fuck. That shit was clanky as hell. But it was fun. I like subways. I'm really simple. I like subways. Subways are fun and cool. And a very interesting form of transportation. "25 minutes to where?" Choo-choo! I've only been on the Sunrail in Florida. I don't know what the Sunrail is. What's a Sunrail? Okay. Those rails don't look like they're in contact with anything right now, are they? I don't think so. Just how much quieter it gets. Getting on a train to New York, of all places, I refuse to go in there. Why? They're fine. They're not nearly as bad as like the movies make you think. I was going around New York as a teenager by myself when I went. I was like 17? 18? Somewhere between 17 and 19, I'm pretty sure, whenever I went. And I was going around the city on the subway by myself. That shit was fun. That shit was fun. Gotta go from Times Square all the way to Coney Island by myself and back. And I accidentally got on the, the express train. So I nearly beat the people I was going to meet there by accident because they got on a train line that stops at every station. Mine stops at like every third. So I was hauling ass. That was after I had tummy troubles and had to go to a McDonald's to go to the bathroom because I had to run out of the subway to go to the bathroom. Rice crackers? They look like rice crackers. Why you can see so many rats? Just go to Central Park if you want to see rats. When I went to Central Park, I walked down off the street and I saw 2 rats fighting under a park bench. It was 2 p.m. It wasn't even dark. They were just there. This shit was fucking crazy. I mean, it can be probably interesting and maybe a little terrifying during like rush hour and stuff. And then of course other people are weird as hell, but like, sorry, I was scratching my eye if y'all saw the twitching. You didn't pick a side in health? No, not 2 New York rats. You don't pick a side, you stand aside. That's how that works. Lunch? Was for lunch. Was for lunch. Soba. Coward's talk is what I'm hearing. No, this is playing it smart. Syphilis, this is playing it smart. You wait for them to tire each other out. Okay. And then you kill both of them and take the pizza slice they were fighting over. It's basic survival of the fittest, okay? It's called playing it smart. Think, Syphilis. Think. Oh God, what is that? Is that a tempura bowl? Why is this shrimp so scraggly? Hi, Plush. How are you doing? That's the wrong pat too. You did the wrong pat. How could you? Oh. That's basically just saying the hole in the walls have the best food, and that is correct. Hole in the wall restaurants are the best. A certain Aesop's fable? Oh, which one? The Nicola's emotes. Taught the rats to steal wallets? I don't think so. At least probably not. I refuse to think. My job is to observe and record. Thinking comes if it's interesting. God damn it. You're useless! There you go. There's the chibi pats. Lotus root? Oh. Wait, there's an air horn right there on the front of the temple. What the hell? And then it has bird guards. Just bird guards all the way up the whole thing. I want a tempura lotus root. Ooh. I mean, if you have a place near you that serves tempura, they'll probably have them, not gonna lie. I get told that a lot. Oh my God. Syphilis, no, you're supposed to use your noodle. It's important. Oh God, yeah, the bird guard goes all the way around the whole place. They don't want to have to start picking out birds' nests and stuff every year, I'm guessing. And it probably does lead to like the degradation of the building. Might have some lotus root, maybe. And then you can go get those big panko breadcrumbs. Oh. Also, that swirl is interesting. I wonder what that swirl means. The way it's centered there makes me think it means something, but I don't know what it means. It's a spiral! Is that just a whole clump of incense burning at once? A lily fountain. Never, doodle will remain dusty, unused, not in its lane, in fact, desiccated? What? You little shit. Damn, I can't believe Syphilis has sacrificed her brain. Sacrificed brain for boobs. Do what you gotta do. Tea break. Okay. Oh, was that some My Name Pumpkin? Oh, it is. It's pumpkin synth. Okay. Grr dance. Oh my god. Ghost hands. Interesting. Whipper. Chats, you ever just sit on a riverbank and think? If you have a lot of thoughts, I don't recommend it because that's the moment where you're going to have a, oh God, what have I become moments. But other than that, it's pretty great. It's pretty great time. Oh. What is this? Another restaurant? It looks like a menu there on the board. I try not to think too much. Love pumpkins emotes. They're so sweetie. Oh. No. Nothing good comes of it? Listen. Self-admittance? Question mark? Understanding? A comfy little environment to think about what you're gonna do later? Hair care? Ooh. What kind of hair care? Oh shit, I just remembered. We still need to get the new, we need to get the new Chillizart game whenever the Twitch payout comes in. Because Chillizart fucking shadow dropped a game last week and I still can't be able to get it because it just be... Well, it's not expensive. I think it's like... I actually don't know how much it is. Usually his games, I think, are $10 at the most. Aw, the little Mochi Peach. And the matcha. Oh. Cutting little pieces off? Okay, interesting. What we doing hair care wise? Yes, that is an important question. What's your hair care routine? We're taking the credit card. Twitch, I stole your black Amex. It's mine now. I'm gonna go buy a yacht. The carnival requires games, man. If I had Twitch's Amex, I'm buying my entire wish list. Entire wish list, baby. Entire wish list. Argan oil, since I don't have conditioner, smells like wild berries. Wait, you don't have conditioner? You should definitely get the conditioner. Conditioner is more important than probably any other hair product. How could you? Oh. I don't recognize these blossoms off the top of my head. Stop yawning! Oh my god. The military submarine is the yacht, but lower? I don't think that's true. I think they function very differently. And they have a much higher captaining capacity. There's probably much more people that need to be awake and alert to pilot a submarine than to pilot a yacht. Anyway, shops. Yeah, shops. Candies. Oh. Are these... These aren't taffy, are they? No, these are hard candies. Cough drops. Interesting. Sleepy. I guess I am sleepy. Yeah, I've been like the last like couple weeks. I have a cell phone up there. I will like fall asleep whenever I decide to go to bed, and then I'll wake up at some point in the morning, and I'll get up and go to the bathroom because I really gotta pee half the time. And then I'll get back in bed, and then I can't fall asleep again. And I'm like really tired, but apparently not tired enough to go back to sleep. Because I will just lay there with my eyes closed, and my body is like, nah. It's time to go. It's time to go. Yeah, Joramaki dolls. Oh my god, the classic tiny plastic squirt guns. Gumballs! Listen, there's something special of a gumball that comes out of a gumball machine. I don't care what anybody says. I still like gumball machines. Is that a robot head? Kochi. Yokocho. Sorry, I thought that was an I for some reason. Oh my god, the ad for some skin products. Oh. Punch one eye out before the Lunar Festival. Is the end of the Lunar Festival supposed to punch out the other eye and burn it, releasing it in the bad spirit sensei's vicinity? I find that fascinating. Oh. I was just gonna keep it. I was just gonna keep it and put it on a shelf. That's a misunderstanding on my part. That probably explains why they're so cheap. Good night, pray, sleep well. Hi, Coco. Help you whistle? Oh, is this one of those candies that you just like put at the front of your mouth and you just blow through the hole? And it's made to whistle? Hi, Stinky. Hi, Coco. Oh, hey, I know those cones. Meiji. Hi, Coco. I have a stinky puppo here because she was outside the last couple hours. She's very stinkums. Is that eel? Is that dried eel? Big Katsu, big Katsu. Ugh, I'm leaning over to pet Coco. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry the tracking's been lost. Choco baby. You fucking goofball. You goofball. I can't reach you. Yo, that Coca-Cola can, though. Japanese katsu cats or katsu cats. I'm kind of curious to see what those packaged katsu things were. Are there actually meats and stuff in there? I was gonna say, those are all Doraemon candy. They look like Haichus. Weirdly. It looks like the Haichu brand for some reason. Oh, wow. Wait, ice cream erasers? So erasers that look like ice cream or ice cream that looks like erasers? Macadamia chocolates? Oh, I heard a pinball. Those are the same strawberry cones again. I don't know what that was. Some stationery of some kind. Real curry packs. I think it's just a sauce. Hi. Hello, sir. You are huge. Who are you modeled after? You're gigantic. Stamp set? Okay, that's what I thought it was. I was like, stamps or like Post-its? No way. A Super Mario Bros. Arcade cabinet? That's cool. I could go for some macadamia nut cookies. Oh, I could go for some peanut butter and chocolate cookies. That sounds awesome. The old lady in the front carrying 4 bags, 1 on her front, 2 in her left hand, and 1 on her right. Dongo? Yep. I've never had Dongo. Has anybody ever had Dongo? I'm trying to remember what Dongo is. It's mochi, right? I'll say konyaki. That looks like... It looks like konjac. On the sticks there. Oh. Aw. Dipped in miso paste. Okay. I think it is konjac, because I think konyaki is just like on a stick. I think it's konjac on a stick, basically. Show me the inside. Oh, she's not gonna turn it. She's not gonna turn it anymore. Yeah, I'm still pretty sure this is konjac. It is konjac. Okay. It's good, very cakey. Okay, that's what I figured. That's what I figured from just the way that it's always sold. Although, and then there's Monster Hunter Wilds, where I'm just like, what did you do to the, what was it, chef, Meowster Chef? We need Meowster Chef back. I need the crazy delicious looking food of Monster Hunter to come back with Wilds, which Wilds comes out next month, and we already have it. So guess what we're doing next month, nerds? Guess what trouble we're getting into next month? Meowscular Chef, yes. Oh. Oh, that actually sounds that's really crispy. I wouldn't be able to eat it like a cookie. I'd be eating that like it was a cracker. Which I guess it is. I guess it is a cracker. It has an interesting looking texture. It makes me think of like, almost like cheese puffs of some kind. Like it's a corn puff that's coated in stuff. That's what I imagine lava cookies from Pokemon would actually be like. I think that's what they are like. At least maybe like kind of flavored differently or coated in something different. God, I haven't thought of lava cookies since Gen 3. Oh, that was the sound of the train in the video. I was very confused for a second. It sounded like somebody was down the hall and I was like, what the fuck? Hello? Hello? Oh shit, I clicked the wrong thing. No. No! Bad. Cease and desist. All right, guys. That's 3.5 hours. And I have the big eeps. I'm not going to sleep because I can't sleep during the day. I am terrible at napping. Napping is outlawed in my household. It's not actually, I can't stop anybody, but I cannot nap. I am terrible at napping. So that means we need to find somebody to raid, don't we? Let me see who we have. Then Day is still just chatting. Astral is doing Mibble Ribble. What is Hyperlight Breaker? Anybody know what Hyperlight Breaker is? But guys, we'll be back on Thursday. We'll be doing spooky shit again. We're probably going to go over, we'll either be doing Urbex again or, I'm brain farting. What is it? What is it? Or Urbex or Paranormal Investigation. That's it. That's the word. That's what I was looking for. Oh, what the hell? Okay. Twitch just tried to do something really fucking weird. We're gonna raid. Just trying to see if I can find anybody that's super interesting. Or doing anything slightly related to what we typically do here, but I'm not really finding anything. Harvey's still being a Fortnite addict. That's to be expected. Yeah, we'll raid Day.
Get your cracker out of your drink, sir.
Oh my god. Okay. All right, guys, so we're gonna raid Day. It looks like she's chilling right now watching, I think it's an MRI video. She started about 30 minutes ago. She'll probably be getting into a game. Oni has the shittiest meat bicycle. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But if you do raid in for Day and you do listen, you will hear that her raid alert is actually me. I voiced Day's raid alert. But what do I want to do for a raid message? Do we do something like propaganda? Do we do the what? Or do we do... No, we'll do propaganda raid. We'll just do propaganda raid. Propaganda raid. Now we're gonna do the wiggle with the propaganda raid. If you want to use We Demand Crime Brulee, that is totally fine, guys. I'll be back on Thursday, 12 CST. I don't think we're doing anything tomorrow in terms of anything plans. So keep an eye out if you haven't joined the Discord or you haven't joined any of the social medias. Feel free to check out the website as well as join the Discord. It's the best way and fastest way to get alerts. So I highly recommend checking it out. But until then, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying propaganda with me. Later, guys.